Extracting World of Warcraft skills in American comics. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 251 Lucifer. DC Universe. Mei Gan looked at Tony like a fool. He actually gave such a precious thing to others. And he gave 3 of them at once. He was really generous, worthy of being a super rich man. Don't look at me like that. Steve asked me to. Tony said after spreading his hands. According to the Eastern saying, this is a matter of accumulating blessings. Saving a life is better than building a 7-story pagoda. Steve interrupted from the side. It seems that you know a lot, Steve. Tony let go of his hand on Mei Gan's shoulder and turned to look at Steve. I learned this from going fishing with Bob and Kyan recently. Steve patted Uncle Long, who was looking around, and said, at this time, Aquaman and Barry had already carried Bruce's body in front of Mei Gan, and Clark's body had also been moved by Banner and Johnny. Mei Gan looked at the 2 people lying on the ground, and the light in his hand shone, and a long-handled warhammer appeared in Mei Gan's hand. How many weapons does Mei have? Sometimes it's a staff, sometimes it's a long sword. He just took out a bow and arrow, and now it's a warhammer. Is he a weapon maker? I wonder if he will sell it. I want to sell him a weapon. Aquaman looked at the warhammer in Mei Gan's hand and asked Tony beside him. Then you have to ask him. He has a lot of weapons. The big sword in Steve's hand was bought from Mei. Tony turned his head and looked at Aquaman Arthur and said, is it the one Steve used a few days ago? That's so cool. Aquaman Arthur's eyes lit up when he heard it, and he gave Steve a thumbs up, and he was amazed at Steve's vision. Don't you think that big sword is ugly? Barry interrupted at the side. Barry's words immediately met the eyes of Arthur and Steve, and their eyes were full of contempt. Barry, you are still too young and don't know how to appreciate it. We won't blame you. Aquaman Arthur said to him in the tone of an elder, hooking his shoulder. Don't listen to them. They both have some problems with their vision. Tony pulled Barry away, glanced at the 2, and said to Barry, okay. Barry shrugged. In front, Mei Gan put his hands on the handle of the warhammer, and the magic power surged. Suddenly, the sky was filled with golden light, and then 2 golden lights fell from the sky and landed on Clark and Bruce. The 2 were surrounded by golden light. The gold covered the surrounding ground like a colorful veil. At the same time, in DC Hell, Lucifer was sitting on the throne with a glass of red wine, looking at the ground in front of him listlessly. He felt bored, especially during the long time he ruled the entire hell. Lucifer drank the red wine in the glass in one gulp. Suddenly, he felt that in hell, there was a holy energy different from God, and that energy was taking a soul away. Lucifer immediately became interested and put down the wine glass in his hand. His figure suddenly disappeared on the throne. When he appeared again, he had come to a dim space. Below, there was a fiery red flame of hell burning and jumping. In the sky, there was a figure wrapped in a holy energy, slowly floating towards the sky. There was a tiny space crack there, which was the crack leading to the human world. As for why there was only one soul, it was because Clark's soul was not under the control of hell. His soul had gone to other places, and now, Clark's soul was on the way back to the earth. The old man in charge of that place did not dare to detain the soul that Mei Gan needed. Below, Lucifer saw it at a glance. This made him extremely interested, and then he hid his figure and followed behind the soul, heading towards the human world. This energy reminded him of the huge resurrection magic a few days ago. On that day, God, who had not been seen for a long time, came directly to hell. He directly warned Lucifer not to interfere with the resurrection magic. He could see that God seemed a little scared. Fear. God would actually be afraid of a human being. Lucifer had never seen such a thing on his face, because the old man always had a blank expression. At that time, he became very interested. If it weren't for God in hell, he might have gone directly to the human world. And now this energy has appeared again today. Lucifer must get to know that human being. Maybe he can escape the fate arranged by God and leave hell directly. He has had enough of the scenery of hell and the fate of being manipulated by God. If not, how could he have resisted the old man at the beginning? Earth. The golden light slowly dissipated from the two people's bodies, and their wounds disappeared. And the kryptonite dagger that stabbed into Clark had already been pulled out of his body by Banner. Now it is still in Banner's hand. Mei Gan suddenly frowned slightly, and his eyes looked at the corner not far away, where Lucifer was standing. Lucifer looked at Mei Gan curiously. Is this mysterious oriental man the one who scared the old man? It looks incredible. He looked so ordinary, especially his appearance. If Mei Gan knew Lucifer's thoughts, he would probably destroy Lucifer directly and die. Until Mei Gan looked here, Lucifer suddenly felt as if he was being stared at by some terrifying existence. His body kept shaking, and a layer of goosebumps rose on his skin. Lucifer felt the danger, looked at Mei Gan with horror, and swallowed his saliva with some difficulty. No wonder the old man god was afraid. It turned out that this ordinary looking oriental man was so terrifying. He didn't know if it was too late to run now, and whether he would be killed. Mei Gan looked at Lucifer for a few times, looking at the white wings hidden behind him, and immediately recognized the origin of this person, the king of hell who ran to the earth to open a bar for no reason. Lucifer. Morning star. Then Mei Gan stopped paying attention. There was no harm in taking a look, and seeing that Clark and the others had woken up, Mei Gan turned around and was about to leave. Mei, how about we take a walk here? Suddenly, Tony shouted to Mei Gan, who was about to leave. After hearing this, Mei Gan thought about it for a while and felt that Tony's suggestion was good, so he nodded in agreement. Tony and the others looked at each other and then looked at Barry and the others. Then Tony asked Barry, "Barry, I wonder if you are willing to be our tour guide?" "Of course, I'm happy to." Barry nodded happily. "I'll arrange a few cars to come over." "Thank you just now, Mei." At this time, Bruce, who had woken up, walked up and said to the few people, "You're welcome." Mei Gan nodded and said. Just as Mei Gan and the others got into the luxury car arranged by Bruce over Washington in the Marvel Universe, Audrey Moore and the others finally arrived on Earth. But their landing point was the Trident headquarters of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because Vision came here today, Audrey Moore and the others dared to find the whereabouts of the Mind Stone. Chapter 252. War begins. Marvel Universe. S.H.I.E.L.D. Trident headquarters. A loud alarm suddenly sounded, echoing around the Trident. In a corridor on the top floor, Nick was walking downstairs in a hurry with Hill, Coulson, and Wanda. "Have you informed Steve?" Nick turned to look at Coulson and asked with a serious look. "I can't connect to their signal." "I asked Natasha. They seem to have gone to that world." Coulson said to Nick. "Send Natasha over to inform them immediately. Tell her to hurry up." Nick ordered Coulson, and then seemed to think of something, and said to Coulson again, "Also, you must inform May, and tell them to bring May here. The enemy this time is expected to be very powerful." Nick looked at the spaceship that had just stopped in the sky outside the glass window. As the spaceship stopped, dust was floating in the sky, making it difficult to see the road conditions ahead. Nick looked very solemn. "Got it." Coulson responded quickly after hearing Nick Fury's words, and then he began to contact Natasha. Several people walked into the elevator. Nick turned to look at Wanda and the others, and said to them, "Everyone, please hold out for a while. When May and the others arrive, things here will be over." Wanda and Vision looked at each other, and then Vision said, "This is what we should do, don't worry." Nick nodded. Outside the Trident, a beam of blue light shot down from the spaceship. When the light disappeared, more than a dozen figures appeared in the original place. Standing in front were Audrey Moore and the other four, and behind them, there were more than a dozen monsters with 4 arms. Audrey Moore put his hands behind his back and looked at the Trident headquarters of S.H.I.E.L.D. Then he stretched out his hand and waved it, and the more than a dozen monsters behind him suddenly rushed towards the Trident. More than a dozen monsters landed on their 4 hands, like a gorilla with 2 more hands, and ran quickly towards the Trident headquarters. Then they broke through the glass outside and rushed forward when they saw the figure. The killing began at this moment. Bang bang bang. Gunshots rang out. Dozens of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents came in fully armed from outside, firing bullets at the dozen monsters with their guns. Although the guns could not kill these monsters, they suppressed them and prevented them from killing again. However, at this moment, Swish bang, a huge alloy battle axe flew in from outside and smashed directly into the dozens of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Instantly, more than a dozen agents were killed by the battle axe. A pool of blood and minced meat was left below. It was Ebony Moore who saw his men being suppressed, so he called Black Dwarf to support them. Black Dwarf's intervention directly made the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents' guns go out, and then the monsters that had just been suppressed rushed towards them. In an instant, the broken limbs and flesh flew over the first floor hall of the Trident. Red blood was splattered everywhere. Red energy suddenly appeared and passed over the dozen monsters. Bang, 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 a dozen monsters were thrown out immediately. Footsteps sounded, and it was Wanda who walked out of the stairs with Pietro and Vision. In Wanda's hands, there was still red energy floating. Looking at the cruel and terrifying scene in the hall, the three of them took a breath of cold air. Dozens of living people turned into minced meat in just a few minutes, and there was no way to find the complete corpse. Suddenly, the three of them were furious, and their cold eyes looked at Ebony Moore and his men who were approaching step by step. Backward Earthlings, listen to me. You have to be happy. The Son of Thanos will personally send you to the end. You should be grateful. Your ant-like bodies can also be used to balance the universe. After seeing Wanda and the others, Ebony Moore began his speech, arrogant and insolent. Shut up, you ugly intruder. Wanda had no intention of listening to Ebony Moore's speech, and interrupted him directly. Ebony Moore's expression suddenly became gloomy, and he looked at Vision on the side with a cold look, and said to him, an intelligent life endowed with life by the original stone. Who is this to you, a sparse person? Upon hearing this, Vision looked at Wanda, then floated to the front and said directly, she is my lover and relative. So, invaders, what do you want? Give me the gem on your forehead, and then tell me the whereabouts of the other gems. Maybe I will let you go. Ebony Moore looked at the three people, and replied in his clear voice. Impossible, Wanda said directly, and then the red energy emerged directly, took a few steps forward, looked at Ebony Moore and others warily and said, At Ash. Upon hearing this, Ebony Moore spoke a few words to Black Dwarf beside him in alien language. Then Black Dwarf waved his hand and the battle axe embedded in the wall flew out directly and flew into his hand. Black Dwarf's huge body took a few steps forward and the whole ground shook with his steps. Suddenly, Black Dwarf smashed the battle axe in his hand towards the three people without any signs. Swish, the battle axe made a sound of wind in the air, and in the blink of an eye it was not far in front of the three people. Fortunately, Wanda had already been on guard against them. She waved her hands, and the red energy directly fixed the battle axe in the air. Wanda's face was ferocious, and then the red energy burst out. Swish, the battle axe returned directly to the original path, and smashed towards Ebony Moore and others. Looking at the battle axe flying towards him and others, Ebony Moore stretched out his left hand behind his back, and then gently swung it in front of him. His elegant movements were like a gentleman, if he was not too ugly. As Ebony Moore swung his left hand, the battle axe that was smashing towards them suddenly changed its flight trajectory, and turned to the side. Just when a battle was about to happen here. DC Universe. Natasha was walking out of the space crack with a solemn expression. Then she ran out at a very fast speed. Just when Natasha ran to the door, she happened to run into Clark, who was walking in here. Seeing this familiar figure, Clark immediately asked with some confusion, hello, beautiful lady, is there anything urgent? Your name is Clark, right? I'm looking for Mei and the others. Where are they? Natasha asked anxiously. Mei and the others were taken to our city by Barry to play. Clark quickly responded to Natasha. Can you contact him? There's an emergency over there. Wait a moment. Clark fumbled around for a while after hearing that. Then he realized that he was still wearing the Superman uniform. He said embarrassedly, sorry, I forgot to bring my phone. But don't worry, there will be construction workers coming here. I'll borrow their contact with Barry then. It may be too late. Our world has been invaded by aliens. Natasha replied with a frown. Clark said immediately after hearing that, I'll go and help. I believe I can still hold on. You just wait here for the construction workers. Thank you for your help then. Natasha had no other choice. Thinking that the Superman in front of her was also a strong man, she breathed a sigh of relief. Chapter 253. You are not qualified to negotiate with me. 2 chapters in 1. Metropolis. Inside a luxury car. Barry was introducing the surrounding buildings to several people, including the collapsed Superman statue. Mei Gan was frowning all the time. Lucifer had been following them all the time, and no one knew what he wanted to do. Mei Gan was a little confused, wondering whether he should just catch Lucifer and ask him. Marvel Universe. Block, exit of space crack. Superman Clark floated out of the crack, and then his figure flashed, and in the blink of an eye he arrived at the door of the physiotherapy center. He walked into the physiotherapy center, and saw Uncle Kyan, who was drinking tea. Clark hurriedly asked Uncle Kyan, "Mr. Kyan, I'm Clark, we've met before. Natasha couldn't contact Mei and the others, and there was an emergency in Washington, so she asked me to come and ask you for directions." Okay, Uncle Kyan immediately stood up from the sofa after hearing this, and then walked towards Clark, and took Clark to the door. Uncle Kyan pointed a direction for Clark, and told him to fly straight over. Boom! Clark thanked Uncle Kyan after hearing this, and then his figure soared into the sky, and flew in the direction Uncle Kyan pointed. Clark's figure crossed the sky, and flew towards the Trident headquarters. The blue figure passed through the clouds. At the Air Force headquarters of the United States. Sir, an unidentified flying object also appeared over the Big Apple. It is flying to the accident site at a super fast speed. I wonder if it is an accomplice of those aliens. A man in military uniform sitting in front of a computer said. Could it be Tony Stark, the Iron Man? He often appears over the Big Apple. We can't contact the mysterious flying object. Every time Iron Man passes by, he will notify us, but this time he didn't, and we can't contact him. If we can't contact Tony, the flying object is not Iron Man. Could it be that it is really in the same group with those guys? The man in military uniform called the commander said with a serious expression. Should we send fighters to intercept it from above? Sir? Someone interrupted and asked. The man in military uniform thought for a moment, then gave a direct order. Immediately call the Condor number 1 and number 2 fighters to go out and intercept the UFO. If it is urgent, you can attack directly. Got it, sir. A subordinate hurriedly ran outside. A moment later, in the sky far above the military district, 2 fighters were flying through the sea of clouds. Soon, they saw a blue figure flying towards them in front. Command room, I'm Condor number 1, I saw him. The pilot on the fighter was reporting to the Air Force command room. Condor number 1, what is that? I don't know. That is, a person, a man in a blue uniform. In the fighter, the pilot stared at the figure that flashed by. The guy was flying very fast, but he just slowed down when he arrived next to them, so he could see the man's image clearly. Fuck, where did this person with ability come from? The commander on the other end of the signal cursed in a bit of dissatisfaction. What should we do next, sir? Warhawk number 1 asked again. Catch up, he's too fast. We can't catch up at all. After the pilot finished speaking, there was silence in the control room for a moment. Then the commander's voice came. Attack, intercept him. Ask about his identity and origin. Received. As soon as the voice fell, the speed of the 2 fighters began to soar rapidly, chasing after Clark's figure. Swish swish, a small missile launcher stretched out from under the 2 fighters, and then 2 small tracking missiles dragged 2 flames through the void and went towards Clark's figure. Ahead. Clark noticed the movement behind him, stopped suddenly, turned around and looked, and saw 2 tracking missiles coming towards him at a glance. Clark frowned slightly, with red light flashing in his eyes, and 2 red thermal vision lines met the 2 tracking missiles. Boom! The flames appeared in the sky, and the 2 tracking missiles disappeared under the thermal vision line. Clark didn't want to cause trouble, and this was Mei's world, so he just destroyed the 2 missiles that attacked him, and then turned around, and flew towards the target again. Oh my god. Control room, that man emitted 2 rays of light from his eyes, and destroyed our missiles. The pilot of the Condor I fighter said to the control room with wide eyes. Eyes emit energy. Are you sure you are not lying? The commander in the control room asked in disbelief. It's true, sir. At this time, Condor Second said in the communicator. Keep attacking. We must intercept him. He can fly, emit energy, and has a strong body. The superiors above should like such a strong man very much. If he is captured and handed over to his superiors, then his position, that has not been moved for a long time, will be in a mess. The superior pondered for a moment and then said to the assistant beside him again, immediately let the Condor number 3 and number 4 take off to help number 1 and number 2. We must capture that guy and bring him back. Our country does not allow anyone to act rampant without reporting in the air. Got it, sir. The assistant was stunned for a few seconds after hearing this, but after seeing the dissatisfied face of his superior, he quickly responded and ran outside. The superior already had some joy in his heart, and he was already yah in his heart. As for the invasion of the Trident building, what does it have to do with him? Anyway, it was not his friends or relatives who died. Besides, if he handed this man over to the superiors and the research results came out, wouldn't the so-called aliens be solved? Officials of the United States, whether they are high-ranking or low-level, have abnormal brain circuits. They have never thought about what to do if they can't beat their opponents. At that time, superheroes will come out to clean up the mess. After receiving the order, the two fighters began the next round of attack. The barrels of the guns extended from the fighters, and they fired fiercely at the front. Clark, who had just turned around, had an angry look on his face. Although he didn't want to conflict with these official people, they attacked him again and again. How could Clark not be angry in his heart? Bang, the airwave spread under his feet, and Clark's figure rushed directly towards the two fighters. S.H.I.E.L.D. Trident headquarters. Boom. Pietro, who was running fast, was hit by a stone pillar that suddenly appeared on the ground. His body was directly knocked away and fell to the distance, splashing dust. Pietro's head was confused, and he struggled on the ground for a long time, but couldn't stand up. Not far away, Black Dwarf was holding his battle axe and approaching him step by step. Pietro looked at her brother and shouted worriedly. However, he was being besieged by General Corvus and his lover Proxima Midnight, and he had no time to help his brother. On the other side, Vision was tied up by several steel bars and floated beside Audrey Moore. Audrey Moore captured Vision and injured Pietro in a 1-on-2 battle. On the Trident, Nick looked at the scene below with a gloomy face. The people on his side were taken care of by those aliens in just a dozen minutes. Only Wanda was left struggling to hold on. It seems that we can only hope for May and the others. Coulson, why haven't they arrived yet? Let's contact them again. Nick turned his head and looked at Coulson behind him and asked. Hearing this, Coulson knew that it was an emergency moment, and he didn't say anything more. He took out his phone and started to contact Tony and Natasha. However, after several minutes, Tony and the others were still not contacted. Sir, I can't contact them, Coulson said with a frown. Nick thought for a moment, then said again, contact Kyan. He may be able to contact Mei and the others. Coulson suddenly remembered the existence of Uncle Kyan when he heard this. He is indeed his superior. It seems that he still needs to learn well. Thinking of this, Coulson directly started to call Uncle Kyan's phone. Coulson had already saved the contact information of all the residents in the block in his address book. He was just afraid that he would be able to use it someday. Who is it? The call was quickly connected, and Uncle Kyan's voice came from the other side. Kyan, it's me, Coulson said hurriedly after hearing this. Coulson, what's the matter? Kyan, can you contact Mei and the others, or maybe ask Mei's pet? The situation here is not too good, Coulson said. Didn't someone go over to help? Why hasn't he arrived yet? Is he lost? Uncle Kyan was stunned when he heard this. Didn't Clark from the other side of the world go over? Looking at his speed, he should have arrived now. They never thought that Clark would be blocked by someone sent by a small chief of the military district. Clark didn't want to hurt anyone, so he just destroyed the weapon system of the fighter plane, which took Clark a little more time, and the commander also sent several fighter planes to catch him. This delayed Clark even longer, otherwise he would have arrived long ago. When no one came, Coulson was also a little confused. Just now, the Superman from the other world said that he was invited by Natasha to come to help, and he came to me to ask for directions. Why hasn't he arrived yet? Uncle Kyan asked in confusion. No, Kyan, let's do it this way first. I'll go check it out. Coulson felt that there was something going on, so he wanted to find someone to check it out. Commander, Kyan said that the Superman from that world has come to help, but maybe something happened halfway, and he hasn't arrived yet. I'm going to check it out. Carlson put away the phone and said to Nick Fury in front of him. After Carlson finished speaking, he turned around and left. Don't go looking for him, I'll ask after Nick finished speaking. He made a few phone calls directly. Half a while later, Nick's face was filled with anger, and he started to curse loudly. Fuck, that's a loser, an idiot. Doesn't he know what time it is now? Fuck. He had learned about the incident from an undercover S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Coincidentally, the undercover agent in the military zone was the assistant of the commander, so he knew everything about the incident. After cursing, Nick Fury contacted the boss there directly. However, it was too late. Downstairs, Pietro was holding his legs and wailing, and not far away, Wanda was tied up by layers of iron sheets, unable to move at all. Her eyes were red, and tears were dripping down, looking at her brother whose legs were chopped off by Black Dwarf, and her lover who was tied to her side by Ebony Moore. Looking at Ebony Moore and the others, Wanda's eyes were full of hatred. Although Mei Gan could recover her brother's injuries, the pain could not be erased, and who knew if Mei Gan would help. After all, their friendship with Mei Gan was not that deep. Stupid and backward earthling, if you can explain the whereabouts of the other gems, I might be merciful and let this guy with broken legs go. No, Wanda, don't say, Pietro said directly to Wanda. However, just as he finished speaking, he was hit hard by the Black Dwarf beside him. The Black Dwarf stepped directly on Pietro's wound with his huge foot. The horrible pain made Pietro almost faint. But he still said intermittently, don't say it, Wanda, don't say it, we can't let many hate us. Pietro looked at Wanda and said, if it weren't for Mei Gan, how could they have such a life now? If it weren't for Mei Gan, they don't know where to wander now, or which criminal organization they will work for. So Pietro and his sister are actually very grateful to Mei Gan. After all, if it weren't for Mei Gan's nod, how could they live in Kalimdor? Wanda's eyes were red, and she looked at her brother helplessly. Because Vision's mouth was sealed, he couldn't speak at all. He was lying flat in the air, and he couldn't see the torture Pietro suffered. Vision was struggling, but the more he struggled, the tighter the steel bars tied him. I'll tell you. Just then, a low voice sounded and reached everyone's ears. Nick Fury walked out of the door wearing his windbreaker that he never changed all year round. He walked to the opposite side of Ebony Moore without any defense. Ebony Moore heard the words and turned his head to look. Looking at the one-eyed bald man opposite, Ebony Moore's face relaxed and his eyes flashed with satisfaction. You are very sensible, Earthling. I will spare your life now. I want you to let them go. Nick pointed at Pietro, Wanda and Vision floating in the air. I can let them go, but I must take the owner of this gem away. Ebony Moore's voice was cold. You choose the whereabouts of 1 gem or 3 gems. Nick's face was expressionless. You are not qualified to negotiate with me, Earthling. Ebony Moore had lost his patience, and a dangerous light flashed in his eyes. Nick actually didn't even think about saying it. Even if Mei Gan could deal with these aliens, his purpose was very simple, to delay time. He knew the Superman of that world, and knew how powerful he was. So as long as he delayed until Superman arrived, things would turn around. On the other side, the fighter pilots who were still fighting with Clark finally received an order from their boss's boss to immediately drive the fighter back and not attack the ability user. Even without the order from their boss's boss, they had no way to deal with the other party because all the weapons on their 6 fighters were dismantled by that guy. Fortunately, they didn't hurt them. Thank God. Instead of thanking Clark, they thanked God directly. What a irony. Clark looked at the fighter that had disappeared from his eyes, and his frown finally loosened. He really didn't want to deal with these official organizations. Thinking of his own affairs, Clark moved and rushed towards the trident. Chapter 254. I hope you can help me. DC Universe. Mei Gan felt that Lucifer was following him, and he was a little confused. Then he said to Barry, who was driving in front, Barry, stop the car. Okay. Although he was a little confused, Barry did it directly and drove the car to the side of the road. What's wrong, Mei? Steve asked with some doubt. There is a guy who has been following us. I'll go ask him what's the matter. Mei Gan saw that Barry had stopped the car and said while opening the car door. Everyone was stunned at first. They didn't expect that they were followed all the way without knowing it with so many experts here. Another scary guy. Then they hurriedly followed Mei Gan, curiously scanning the pedestrians or cars in front to see who was following them. Mei Gan got out of the car and walked directly to an alley. In the alley, Lucifer was standing in the dark, staring at Mei Gan and others who were walking towards this side. When he found that Mei Gan was walking directly towards him, Lucifer's pupils shrank slightly, and he felt a little uneasy, seeing the aggressive look of the Oriental man. Could it be that he was here to deal with him? Lucifer swallowed his saliva and was slightly terrified. He had been very careful, so how could he still be noticed? It seemed that this Oriental man was indeed very scary. Soon, Mei Gan and others stood in front of Lucifer. Lucifer did not dare to move at all, fearing that if he moved casually, he would be killed by the Oriental man in front of him. Can't see me, can't see me, can't see me, Lucifer kept muttering in his heart, and his footsteps slowly moved to the side, with light steps. Mei, it seems that there is no one in front. Tony asked Mei Gan, who was staring at the front. Aren't you going to show up? Mei Gan did not respond to Tony's words, but just looked at the front and said. Lucifer's moving footsteps suddenly stopped when he heard the words, and then swallowed his saliva with difficulty. He really came to find him. Lucifer was no longer a gentleman now, but this was what he wanted. He originally wanted to come to talk to Mei Gan, and it was good to be discovered now. Thinking like this, Lucifer showed up directly. Lucifer, wearing a black suit and handsome, appeared in front of everyone. The moment Lucifer appeared, Tony had only one sentence in his mind. This guy is even more handsome than me. It's unfair. Tony stared at the handsome man in a suit in front of him with wide eyes. Not only Tony, but even Steve and others felt the same way. Lucifer, the king of hell, what do you mean by following me all the time? Mei Gan ignored the thoughts in the minds of the others, just frowned and looked at the guy in front of him every day. If this guy doesn't explain it, I have to give him a storm hammer and smash his perfect face. Let you look so beautiful. When everyone heard Mei Gan's address to Lucifer, their eyes widened suddenly. Is this Lucifer the one they know? Although they have seen Thor, who also appeared in mythology, the one in front of them is indeed from the Hell Camp, and his reputation is much greater than that Thor. Hello, Mr. Wizard from another world. Nice to meet you. Lucifer was not surprised at all that Mei Gan knew him. He bowed his head slightly to Mei Gan with an elegant look, and then spoke in a gentle voice. Don't talk nonsense, just tell me, what exactly is the matter with following me? Mei Gan was not friendly to him, because of Lucifer's elegance, but just said impatiently. Lucifer was slightly stunned when he heard it. Aren't Orientals very tactful? Why is this Oriental wizard so direct? Is he in a bad mood? Very likely. Lucifer first looked at Tony and others, and didn't know how to start. After all, he is also a king of hell. It's okay to tell Mei Gan. After all, he is the person he wants to rely on, but it's a bit embarrassing to be heard by these mortals. Mei Gan didn't know what Lucifer was thinking. Just seeing this guy dithering, some mortals, so he said impatiently again, are you going to tell me or not? If you don't, I'll leave. Lucifer heard this, and there was a slight struggle on his face, but after thinking for a while, he straightened his face and said, Mr. Wizard, I hope you can help me. I hope you can take me out of this world. Looking at the dried plums in front of him, Lucifer's face showed a pleading look. Why should I help you? An unknown guy ran up and asked me to help him directly. I'm not a sucker. Why should I help you with just one word from you? I can take refuge with you. If you have any inconvenience in the future, you can ask me to help, no matter what it is. Lucifer was equivalent to selling himself. He just wanted to escape the fate arranged for him by the old man god. Although he could not tell Mei Gan and directly pass through the space crack, he would eventually be discovered by the Oriental wizard in front of him. If he made him unhappy, he might as well stay in this world. At least his life would not be in danger. If I ask you to take action, won't I? If there is something I can't solve, will your action be useful? Mei Gan said with a smile. Lucifer felt a little sad when he heard it, and then nodded calmly. What he said was right. If he couldn't solve it, what was the point of his taking action? Then excuse me, Mr. Wizard, Lucifer said regretfully, then bowed slightly to Mei Gan and turned to leave. Wait a minute. Although you are of no use, I want to hear a story now. If your story can move me, I can take you out of this world, Mei Gan said softly, looking at Lucifer's back. Lucifer, who was about to leave, suddenly showed joy on his face when he heard it. Lucifer turned around and pointed to the coffee shop next to him and said to Mei Gan and others, "In that case, I will invite you to have a cup of coffee and we will talk while drinking coffee." Mei Gan nodded slightly and then walked directly to the coffee shop, and Lucifer followed behind everyone with a smile. After ordering coffee, Lucifer began to explain to Mei Gan why he wanted to escape. While everyone was listening to Lucifer's story, in the car, Barry's cell phone that he forgot in the car kept ringing. The exit of the space crack. Natasha anxiously looked at the man who applied for the supervisor. He held the phone in his hand and kept dialing Barry's number. However, no one answered. No one answered. "Miss, don't worry, you wait a moment. I will call our boss and ask him if he can find Mr. Barry." The man comforted Natasha and then began to contact Bruce. Marvel Universe. At the entrance of the Trident, Ebony Moore looked at Nick, his eyes flashing coldly. He was already a little impatient. This black bald guy kept nagging in front of him, just stalling for time. Didn't he know that his IQ was famous? He was stalling for time in front of him. Chapter 255. I have bought that place. Marvel Universe. At the entrance of the Trident. "Stupid Earthling, this is the last time I will negotiate with you. Tell me the whereabouts of the other gems. I don't have any patience anymore." Ebony Moore's cold voice sounded, and his cold eyes stared straight at Nick Fury not far away. Nick Fury was about to speak, when suddenly, a figure fell directly from the sky. Boom, the blue figure landed on the ground, smashing a hole in the ground. Cracks appeared around the hole, and dust splashed all over the sky. The sudden appearance of the figure attracted everyone's attention, and interrupted Nick's next words. Ebony Moore and others looked at the looming figure behind the dust with some doubts. Nick finally flashed a happy look in his eyes, and he was relieved. But he finally arrived. He couldn't delay any longer. The extremely ugly alien invader on the opposite side had already seen that he was stalling for time. "Oh, is it your help that has arrived? It's useless. No matter who comes, it's useless. You backward earthlings, you simply can't understand how powerful we are," Ebony Moore said to Nick with his hands behind his back and expressionless. With his face, even if he had an expression, others probably couldn't tell. And at this moment, the dust in the sky dispersed, and Clark's figure in a blue battlesuit appeared in front of everyone. "Are they them?" Clark's figure just appeared, and he saw Ebony Moore and others who looked very different from them. "Please save the one they caught first, Mr. Clark," Nick said to Clark. "Okay," Clark responded, and then stomped on the ground, and the blue figure soared into the sky, and then dived directly towards Ebony Moore. Ebony Moore looked very calm, and waved his left hand behind his back gently, and then a group of stone pillars emerged from the ground, soaring into the sky, and went towards Clark. Clark's speed did not stop at all. Boom boom boom, the stone pillars blocking his way were smashed by Clark one after another, and turned into fragments, and fell to the ground. Seeing that his stone pillars could not stop the human who had just arrived, Ebony Moore frowned slightly, then stretched out his right hand, and waved it gently. Suddenly, countless steel bars stretched out from the ground, stretching longer and longer, like vines growing out of the soil. Then, the steel bars were like whips, and they lashed down at Clark. Swish, the steel bars approached Clark quickly with the sound of wind. However, none of these suddenly appearing steel bars touched Clark. His figure suddenly accelerated, passing through the whip net woven by those steel bars, like a blue lightning. In the blink of an eye, Clark had already arrived in front of Ebony Moore. Clark punched hard and directly knocked Ebony Moore's body more than 10 meters away. Ebony Moore's reaction was also very fast. Soon he stopped in midair, then stretched out his right hand. Pieces of gravel rose from the ground, and then turned into sharp stones, and countless pieces of broken lime fell from midair. Ebony Moore gently waved his right hand. The stones in the air flew towards Clark like arrows. On this side, Clark had already stretched out his hand to tear off the steel bars on Vision's body and saved Vision. Just at this time, countless sharp stones had already shot towards Clark. Clark grabbed Vision's arm, and his figure soared into the sky again, avoiding the attack of those sharp stones. Boom! Clark's figure landed beside Nick Fury, and then he put down the Vision in his hand. His figure flashed again, and then rushed towards Pietro. Black Dwarf saw Clark rushing towards him, and threw the battle axe in his hand at Clark. A thick iron chain connected the battle axe. It allowed him to retract it after throwing it. Clark's figure flashed, and directly avoided the battle axe that was bigger than his body. He rushed down towards Pietro on the ground. At this moment, a stone wall blocked Clark's body, and then steel bars tied Pietro, and pulled his body towards Ebony Moore. Seeing this, Clark slowed down, and stopped in midair. Then, red light flashed in his eyes, and thermal vision appeared, shooting through the stone wall in front of him. Wisps of white smoke floated into the air. After Clark saw that Pietro had been pulled away by Ebony Moore, he turned around, and flew towards Ebony Moore. However, at this moment, Ebony Moore swung his right hand slightly, and a sharp stone flew out, and hit Pietro's throat directly. You'd better stop, Earthling. If you take a few steps forward, there will be a big bloody hole in his throat, Ebony Moore said in a cold voice. Ebony Moore didn't expect that there would be such a powerful guy on this backward planet. He and his people would definitely not be able to deal with it, so he had to use the threat. However, at this moment, Nick Fury said directly, Mr. Superman, please just do it. Don't worry about Pietro. I will discuss with Mei afterwards, and ask him to revive Pietro. Director. Clark hadn't spoken yet, but Wanda looked at Nick Fury with wide eyes. Wanda, don't worry, your brother is just going to the land of the dead for a visit, and the goddess of death is still there. Pietro will not suffer. And, look at your brother's feet, he will still have to ask Mei to treat him in the end. Nick Fury pointed to Pietro's broken legs. Okay. Wanda felt that Nick had some sense, and finally nodded and agreed. You guys can also do it together. But you'd better pay attention to Pietro's body. Finally, Nick Fury whispered to Wanda and Vision. The two nodded when they heard it. Walk towards those guys. Clark saw that several people had agreed, so he didn't hesitate, and dived directly towards Ebony Moore. DC Universe. Mei Gan and others sat in the cafe, and listened to Lucifer's reasons for wanting to escape. This is the thing. I don't want to live in this arranged fate anymore, so I hope Mr. Mage can let me live in your world. Don't worry, I won't use my abilities recklessly. I want to live a normal life now. Maybe opening a bar is a good choice. Lucifer finally pleaded with Mei Gan. Okay, then come with us. Anyway, one more person won't make a difference. Mei Gan shrugged, just for the sake of listening to a story for free. And just at this moment, the manager of the cafe suddenly came over with a mobile phone in his hand and said to Barry, Mr. Barry, we have your phone here. Please answer it. Mine. Barry asked with some doubts. Who would call him and call the cafe? Why didn't he call his mobile phone? Then he subconsciously touched his pocket and found that his mobile phone seemed to be left in the car and he didn't take it down. Hello, this is Barry. May I ask who you are? Barry asked directly, after answering the phone. It's me, Bruce. Bruce's deep voice sounded on the other end of the phone. Oh, it's Mr. Bruce. I don't know what you want to talk to me about. How did you get the phone number of this cafe? I have already bought the place. Are Mei and the others there? Tell them that something big has happened in their world and someone is waiting for him at the exit. Chapter 256. Sudden. DC Universe. Inside the coffee shop. After hanging up the phone, Barry couldn't help but mutter, sure enough, he's a rich person with special abilities. What's the matter, Barry? Seeing Barry looking a little dumbfounded after answering the phone, Tony couldn't help but ask Barry in confusion. Oh, by the way, Mei, it seems that something big has happened in your world. Now someone is waiting for you at the space crack. Barry hurriedly said to Mei Gan and others. Waiter. Are there aliens making trouble again, or are there people with special abilities coming out again? Tony widened his eyes and said speechlessly, why do people now think that the earth is easy to bully? Can't they live peacefully without making trouble from time to time? I don't know either. You should go ask your people, Barry said to Tony. Steve turned his head and looked at Mei Gan after hearing this. Mei Gan nodded, then stood up and said, let's go. Mei Gan turned around and was about to leave, but suddenly thought of something and turned back to Lucifer and said, "Are you going with us now or?" "Now, I'm going with you now. I don't have anything to miss in this world anymore." Lucifer stood up and said with excitement on his face, after so many years, he can finally leave the old man's world after the old man who rebelled against God was thrown into hell by him. Fate of the damned, his fate will be in his own hands from now on. After Lucifer finished thinking, he saw Mei Gan and others walking outside and hurriedly followed them. The ordinary Oriental man will be his backer in the future. I don't know if the old man of God will come to stop him. If he comes, it's better. Maybe I can see the old man being beaten. It can be seen that Lucifer's dissatisfaction or hatred towards God has penetrated into his bones. Mei Gan didn't know what Lucifer was thinking. He led everyone outside. Mei Gan waved his right hand and a blue magic circle appeared. Then, everyone disappeared directly from the spot. At the exit of the space crack, Natasha was walking around anxiously. She kept looking into the distance, hoping to see Mei Gan and others, but she forgot that Mei Gan always used teleportation when she was on the road. After all, it was about the safety of the entire Earth. How could she calm down? Just when Natasha was waiting and wanted to go out to find it herself, a blue light appeared on her body. Seeing the blue magic circle, Natasha breathed a sigh of relief and then smiled. A white light flashed before her eyes. Mei Gan and others appeared in front of Natasha. "Mei, you are finally back. If you don't come back, I will go to find you." Seeing Mei Gan and others, Natasha walked in front of Mei Gan and said, "What happened, Natasha?" Mei Gan hadn't asked yet. Steve asked anxiously. Steve was still the moral model. "There are alien invasions. Aliens have landed directly at the headquarters of S.H.I.E.L.D. Wanda and the others are trying to stop them. I don't know how long they can hold out. Nick asked me to come and tell you to go back." Natasha said, "Mei, take us over there. The situation over there should be very urgent." Steve turned his head and said to Mei Gan. Mei Gan nodded, then stretched out his right hand, put his 5 fingers together, and a blue staff appeared in his hand. "Natasha, you must remember to ask Nick to prepare the reward." After that, a blue light appeared under everyone's feet. On the other side, downstairs of the Trident building, a blue figure kept flashing below. Every time Clark flashed, Ebony Moore in front of him would be blown away. Without worrying about Petro's safety, Clark had no scruples and beat Ebony Moore and Black Dwarf so hard that they didn't even have the strength to fight back. Clark's figure flashed again. Bang, the Black Dwarf blocking the way was like a huge ball, and it fell directly on General Corvus Glaive who was fighting with Vision. Boom, the huge body directly pressed General Corvus Glaive under it. It made Proxima Midnight, who was with Wanda, feel distressed. That was her lover. He forced Wanda to retreat and then hurriedly ran towards them. At this moment, countless stones were floating in the air and countless sharp stones fell towards Clark's figure like a rainstorm. Clark could not avoid it and stopped his body that was flying at high speed. He took a deep breath and then blew it into the air. Suddenly, the white mist went towards the sharp stones in the sky. Crack. The two met, and in an instant, the stones in the sky were directly frozen. Then, the stones shattered one after another and turned into fragments and fell to the ground. Bang, the air was turbulent. Clark's figure disappeared again in the original place, diving towards Ebony Moore. Seeing this, Ebony Moore retreated directly to the back. His right hand waved quickly. A series of stone walls rose from the ground and blocked Clark directly. Clark's body did not stop at all, and he penetrated through the stone walls one after another, chasing after Ebony Moore. Swish, the huge battle axe rushed straight towards Clark, but Black Dwarf had already climbed up from the ground, holding the iron chain connected to the battle axe in his hand. Clark frowned slightly, then stopped and punched the battle axe. Bang, Black Dwarf's battle axe turned into pieces and fell to the ground. Atash, seeing that his weapon was broken like this, Black Dwarf couldn't help but say something in alien language, which was obviously a curse. After cursing, Black Dwarf suddenly threw the iron chain in his hand to the ground, then grabbed an iron rod on the ground and rushed towards Clark. Boom boom. Countless stone pillars rushed out from the ground and bombarded Clark. Ebony Moore floated in the air, stretched out his hands, and then kept waving. On the ground, Countless stone pillars or steel broke out of the ground. Clark frowned slightly. Then, the red light in his eyes flashed, and he shot directly at the stone pillars and steel that were bombarding him. Zzzz, the stone pillars and steel were directly burned by Clark's thermal vision. Not far away, General Corvus Glaive was holding a spear and fighting with Vision. And next to him, Wanda was also fighting with Proxima Midnight. At this moment, the sky suddenly darkened. Everyone hurriedly stopped what they were doing and looked up at the sky. They saw a huge spaceship slowly landing towards them. Everyone looked at this sudden change, and confusion and vigilance appeared on their faces. I don't know where this alien invader came from. Fuck, where did this come from? Did they agree today that there are alien creatures coming again? Luden looked at the spaceship in the sky with a gloomy face. Boom. The spaceship stopped on the Trident. Everyone slowly separated and then gathered together. The spaceship just stopped in the air like this, without any movement. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 257 Nick will pay later. Marvel Universe. S.H.I.E.L.D. Headquarters, Trident Building. The spaceship in the sky finally made a move. Bang! A big door under the spaceship slowly fell down, and then a slender figure walked out of the door, followed by several iron robots. The slender figure was wearing a purple armor. The person who came was Carrie, the daughter of Galactus. Looking at this completely unfamiliar woman, everyone on the ground frowned slightly and looked at Carrie warily. Wow, it's really lively here. Are these aliens? I wonder if they are delicious. Carrie looked at the scene on the ground, then looked at Ebony Moore and others for a few times. Her eyes lit up, and then licked her lips and said. Nick's mind flashed with a question mark. Who is this woman? From her tone, it seems that she is from Earth. She looks quite similar. Miss, who are you? Nick asked Carrie directly. Me. Hey, isn't Mr. Magician here? I came to find him. I saw that it was quite lively here, so I thought he would be here, so I came here directly. Carrie was about to reply. Her eyes were looking around, looking for that familiar figure. However, she didn't find it at all. You are also from Earth, new here? Ebony Moore asked, looking at the home that landed on the ground. Me. I'm not from Earth, but I have lived on Earth for a long time. Alien, I wonder how you taste. Looking at Ebony Moore, the home licked his lips and stared at them. That look made Ebony Moore and others tremble unconsciously. It was like being stared at by some terrifying existence. It made them want to escape immediately. Nick noticed the expressions of Ebony Moore and others. Since this woman came to find Mei, she belonged to the Earth camp. Miss, Mei will be back soon. You can wait for a while, Nick said to Carrie, after taking a step forward. Really? That's good. Then I don't have to go directly to find him, Carrie said excitedly. Ebony Moore looked at the two people who completely ignored his conversation and immediately suppressed his fear of Carrie. His anger rose in his heart, and he stared at the two people who were chatting, as if no one was around. However, he still didn't dare to do it, because the guy in the blue uniform was watching them warily. That guy was too strong, and they might not be able to deal with him. It was necessary for his own king to take action. Thinking of this, Ebony Moore whispered to the four people beside him in an alien language, retreat first, go back and report to the king, and gather people to come again. Black Dwarf and the others nodded slightly in agreement. Although he didn't know what they were talking about, Clark could still guess that, since the girl came over, the invaders on the opposite side had already retreated. Behind Clark, Wanda and Vision were putting the rescued Pietro on a newly pushed out bed. Blood was constantly flowing out of the broken leg. Pietro was on the verge of coma and his face was pale. Several doctors from S.H.I.E.L.D were helping him stop the bleeding and treat him. Across, Ebony Moore and his men retreated slightly and were about to retreat to the bottom of their spaceship so that they could be directly teleported into the spaceship. However, at this moment, a ray of fire suddenly appeared not far from Ebony Moore and his men, and then the fire drew a circle, and a circular space channel appeared beside them. Ebony Moore and his men slowly stopped, looking at the suddenly appeared fire circle with some doubt. Doctor Strange Stephen Strange led Wong and his men out of the fire circle. As soon as Strange and his men stepped out of the fire circle, they looked at Ebony Moore and his men not far in front of them with caution. However, Ebony Moore and his men had gloomy faces. They had stirred up a hornet's nest. How could there be so many people with abilities on this backward Earth? They couldn't deal with the few on the opposite side, so why did they come? Would they stay here forever today? Not long after Steven and his men appeared, something unexpected happened here again. A blue light suddenly appeared on Wanda's body, and a blue magic circle suddenly appeared under Wanda's feet, and above her head. Looking at the magic circle that suddenly appeared, Nick, Wanda and others secretly breathed a sigh of relief. As long as this guy arrived, they would be fine. Then, the blue light disappeared, and the white light shone. The figures of Mei Gan and others appeared directly beside Wanda and Vision. The incident that occurred again frightened Ebony Moore and others to the point of fainting. Why are they coming again? Can you come all at once? If you come one by one like this, it will easily scare people to death. Will someone else come later? Mei, hurry up, save Pietro, please. Wanda saw Mei Gan appear and immediately ran forward, looking at Mei Gan pleadingly. Hearing this, Mei Gan turned his head and looked at Pietro, who was lying on the bed. Then he nodded and said to Wanda, "Don't worry, he's not dead. He will recover soon," Mei Gan said, and waved the staff in his hand forward. Pietro's broken half leg flew directly from not far away and then fell on Pietro's broken leg. Then, the staff in Mei Gan's hand glowed with golden light. The light fell on Pietro's broken leg. In the blink of an eye, Pietro's face began to turn ruddy. Then he woke up directly. The skin on the broken leg looked as if nothing had happened. No, it had changed. It was much whiter than before. The white and tender skin that had been staying at home all day had become even paler. It was only limited to the two legs. "Thank you, Mei." Getting down from the hospital bed, Pietro said to Mei Gan gratefully. "No, Nick will pay later, right Nick?" Mei Gan waved to Pietro, then turned to Nick and said, "Fuck, Mei, all the funds in our shield have fallen into your pocket. You can't ask for less." Nick glared at Mei Gan and said, "I'm helping you." Mei Gan was not annoyed by Nick's attitude at all. After all, he was the guest who paid. Hearing this, he just shrugged indifferently, then turned to look at the ugly Ebony Moore and others. "Aren't these Thanos' godsons?" Mei Gan led everyone to walk towards Ebony Moore and others, and then spoke. "Sir, do you know our father?" Ebony Moore heard Mei Gan's words and asked directly. Surrounded by so many people, he didn't dare to call him a stupid earthling anymore. "He knows him, but he doesn't know me." "Oh, by the way, your old father next to me is the one you always want to see." Mei Gan pointed to Death next to him and said to Ebony Moore. Ebony Moore and others looked at Death, and after thinking for a long time, they didn't know him, so they had to give up. He just said to Mei Gan, "I think this is just a misunderstanding. Let's go back first. Since you know our father, you should be one of us." "Haha. These people, who are these people with you ugly monsters?" "Your father, the purple potato spirit, wants these gems on my body. You go back and tell him that he'd better give up the idea, otherwise." Mei Gan's face darkened when he heard this. He sneered twice, then waved his hand and took out 4 gems. After tossing them in his hand, he said to Ebony Moore, Chapter 258, I didn't kill him. Marvel Universe. Downstairs of the Trident. As soon as Mei Gan's voice fell, the faces of Ebony Moore and others began to become ugly. This is a naked warning. What should they do? But listening to this guy, he wants to let them go. That's good. As long as they leave, they will come back with a large army to take revenge next time. Ebony Moore, you can go, but these guys around you stay here. Mei Gan's voice just fell. Ebony Moore and others quickly retreated behind them. They had already prepared to escape. However, no matter how fast they are, they can't be faster than Mei Gan's magic. Mei Gan pressed the staff in his hand to the ground heavily. Bang, several thick vines rushed out from the ground and then directly wrapped around General Corvus Glaive and others. Except for Ebony Moore, the others were tied up not far from Mei Gan. If you want to run, ask me. Before Mei Gan walked towards the few people, he said with a sneer, let us go, Earthlings. If you don't want our army to invade Earth, you'd better let us go. Dark Knight Proxima looked at Mei Gan and said harshly, "What troops, Chirita? Or those four-handed monsters, a group of ants want to invade Earth?" Mei Gan said disdainfully. Then he didn't want to pay attention to them anymore and temporarily stopped the light of the staff in his hand. 3 green energies suddenly stretched out from the staff and shot directly into the bodies of the 3 people. It was like 3 green straws piercing into the bodies of the 3 people. After a while, in the green straws, red light was slowly sucked out. Sylvanus's skill, life absorption. At this time, screams came from the mouths of the 3 people. The bodies of the 3 people were shrinking rapidly, and the huge body of the black dwarf was shrinking continuously, and it was about to become a thin bamboo pole. The life in their bodies was being directly sucked away by Mei Gan. What a terrifying magic. Behind him, Lucifer was staring at Mei Gan, Black Dwarf and others with wide eyes, whispering. Lucifer was unconsciously a little frightened. Fortunately, he did not conflict with Mei Gan, otherwise he might have been finished. Fortunately, he was smart and joined directly. Below the hula hoop, Audrey Moore looked at Black Dwarf and others who were shrinking little by little. He could no longer maintain his gentlemanly appearance. He panicked and shouted in an alien language to the spaceship above his head. Suddenly, a blue light fell directly from the spaceship and enveloped Audrey Moore. Audrey Moore's figure floated straight towards the spaceship. Then, the hula hoop-shaped spaceship quickly rushed into the sky and disappeared from everyone's sight in a short time. Below, Black Dwarf and others looked at the spaceship that had disappeared in their eyes. Their eyes were bloodshot. They were abandoned by Audrey Moore, and there was no intention to save them at all. "Let us go, please. I can be your subordinate and do anything for you." General Grim Reaper suddenly begged Mei Gan. He didn't want to die yet and wanted to live well. "Yes, yes, yes please, let us go, Master Mage." Proxima Midnight also began to beg. Only Black Dwarf, a simple-minded guy who only knew alien language, looked straight at Mei Gan with a pleading look in his eyes. Mei Gan didn't say anything, nor did he pay attention to their pleas. These guys followed Thanos and caused countless killings, especially General Grim Reaper, the murderer. So, the magic power in his body suddenly surged, and a dazzling light burst out from the blue staff. Suddenly, the green straw that absorbed the life force became faster. After a few breaths of work, Black Dwarf and the other 2 didn't even have the strength to speak. Both hands fell weakly. Swoosh! Mei Gan dispersed the green light. Then, the staff emitted a dazzling red light, and a ball of fire suddenly appeared, and then fell on the 3 people. Soon, several people were burned to ashes. At this time, "Mr. Mage, I found a spaceship and came over. Can I exchange it with you for my father's spaceship?" Seeing that Mei Gan's matter was over, Carrie, who had been following behind everyone, walked up to Mei Gan and said, and pointed to the spaceship above Mei Gan's head. "This is what you found." Mei Gan looked at the appearance of the spaceship, touched his chin and asked Carrie, "Of course, this is what I went to my father to get back. It's an old treasure. It is said that the functions are more complete than the previous one." Carrie raised her head and said to Mei Gan, "Your father, Tunxing, didn't he get chopped by me?" Ahem. Mei Gan subconsciously replied when he heard it, and then suddenly remembered that the one in front of him was Tunxing's daughter. "It's not good to say this. Isn't this a hatred? What? The one you cut was my father's clone. His real body has been traveling in the universe, looking for planets to eat." Carrie explained. "No wonder I felt that Devourer was a little strange at that time." Mei Gan suddenly realized that he had not searched properly. He has several clones. They are all looking for energy for the real body to devour. I don't know if Carrie is naive or something. She just sold out her old father. "Okay, since you found it, then I will return the spaceship to you." Hearing that this spaceship is better than the one he intercepted from Devourer, Mei Gan's eyes suddenly lit up, and then he took the spaceship out of space and directly launched the spaceship. Mei Gan couldn't wait to fly to the new spaceship. "Wait for us, Mei, let's take a good look." Seeing that Mei Gan was about to fly to the new spaceship, Tony and others hurriedly stopped Mei Gan and said loudly. Mei Gan heard the words, and his flying figure suddenly stopped. Then he stretched out his hand to attract everyone. and everyone's figures all floated up and floated behind him. He carried everyone to the spaceship. Entering the spaceship, everyone looked at the decoration inside with curiosity. Nick, who came up with him, looked at the spaceship in deep thought and didn't know what he was thinking. But Mei Gan didn't pay attention to Nick. Wandering in the spaceship, Mei Gan was very happy. The space of this spaceship was actually larger than the other one. The facilities that the other spaceship had were all on this spaceship. What the other spaceship didn't have were all on this one, such as sports facilities. Incredibly, there were basketball courts and badminton courts. How about it? I asked my father's men to modify this. Are you satisfied? Kerry, who came up with him, said proudly. Very satisfied, not only very satisfied, but very satisfied. Mei Gan has been thinking about flying around the universe these days. After all, people will use the new things they just got, such as the girlfriend you just sent by express. The principle is the same. I will go back and discuss with Audrey later whether to leave soon or wait until the summer vacation. He can't wait to go out and travel. It has been a long time since I traveled. I have been staying in the neighborhood for the past 2 years and have not traveled. Chapter 259 Lucifer moves in. Marvel Universe. Above the Trident. Inside the spaceship. Mei, when are you going to take everyone out to play in the universe? Last time you and your family went out, you didn't take us with you. Don't worry, I'll take care of the supplies. Tony suddenly walked to Mei Gan's side and put his arm around Mei Gan's shoulders. Banner and others nodded in agreement. You and I are thinking the same thing. I have to go back and ask Audrey, but I probably can't go until the summer vacation. Mei Gan was thinking. After all, Audrey has been extremely dedicated since she became a teacher. She hasn't asked for leave in 2 years. Mei Gan was also convinced. That's still a few months away. What a pity, Tony said with some regret. Death, who had been following Mei Gan, looked unhappy when he heard Mei Gan talking about Audrey. If it weren't for Mei Gan, she might have dragged Audrey to the kingdom of death to torture her. But these are all her fantasies. After all, how dare she do this? If she really touches Audrey's hair, Mei Gan will probably knock her into ashes. It will take a few months of fishing, but you have to take Morgan with you. Fishing is left to us, Banner said, patting Tony on the back. TSK, you don't even know how cute little guys are, Tony said after looking at Banner beside him with disdain. Banner was hit hard. Johnny beside him was already laughing secretly. Fortunately, he didn't say anything, otherwise he would also be hit. Although he has Danny and is not afraid of being hit, that is not his own son after all. Not far behind him, Nick was whispering to Natasha. Agent Romanoff, who is that girl? Do you know her identity? Nick Fury asked Natasha. I don't know either. You'd better ask Mei. He looks in a good mood now and should tell you, Natasha replied after shrugging. Nick nodded slightly. At this time, Nick, remember to transfer the money. I'm going back and will send you down first. Mei Gan was very happy to receive the new spaceship, but he still did not forget to give some instructions to Ludan. Then he was going to leave with everyone. Mei, wait, I want to talk to you. Nick called Mei Gan, who was about to teleport himself away. What's the matter? Mei Gan was in a good mood today, so he didn't bother with Nick. Nick directly pulled Mei Gan to a corner and whispered, who is that girl? She won't cause any harm to our Earth, right? And her father. Seeing Nick dragging Mei Gan away from her, Death couldn't help but glare at him. Oh, you are talking about Carrie. Don't worry, you paranoid guy. Carrie has been on Earth for a long time, and she has protected the Earth. As for his father, don't be afraid. One of his clones was chopped off by me once, and he won't come to Earth again. As for her identity, her father's identity is the same as Death's, one of the 5 great gods. You just need to know this. Mei Gan patted Nick's shoulder and said comfortingly. It was difficult for this suspicious person. Recently, he had been facing masters at the level of big bosses. Was he too rude to this guy? At most, he would charge a few $100,000 less next time. A few $100,000. How many things can he buy with that? After speaking to Nick Fury, Mei Gan waved his hand at him, and Nick's figure disappeared from the spot. Then he turned to Carrie and said, you go back by yourself. Yeah. I'm going to send the spaceship back to my father. See you next time, Mr. Wizard, Kerry replied to Mei Gan, and then turned and flew outside. Seeing that everyone had left, Mei Gan directly teleported everyone back to the block, including Wanda and the other two. With Mei Gan's disappearance, the spaceship parked above the Trident also disappeared from the spot. The sudden appearance of light made many S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, including Coulson, breathe a sigh of relief. There was always a dark shadow above their heads, which made them feel uncomfortable. Now it was good to leave. Block. Next to the turret, Mei Gan appeared with everyone. Mei, we'll go back first. The Camotage mages who came out to play a little looked at Mei Gan, and Stephen Strange said to Mei Gan, okay. Mei Gan nodded calmly. In fact, he was complaining in his heart, and almost forgot that Strange and others were still there. He didn't expect that he would bring them back directly. Originally, Strange and others wanted to go back directly from there, but who knew that before they could say anything, they were brought back here by Mei Gan. Free space teleportation. The fire circle appeared, and Strange and others stepped directly over the fire circle and went back to Camotage. Back in the neighborhood, Pietro felt much more at ease. After all, he almost went to the kingdom of the dead today. Although he knew that he could be resurrected, not everyone could face death calmly. Didn't you see that Mei was chased by death and hid? Back in the neighborhood, everyone went to their own homes. I had been planning to go fishing with Uncle Long in the morning, but I didn't expect that besides so many things, we had a fight in the DC universe, and then had a fight with Audrey Moore and others. It was really dramatic. Tony, wait a minute. Mei Gan looked at the people who were going back, and only Lucifer was left. He was looking around alone, with great interest. Mei Gan hurriedly stopped Tony who was about to go back. What's the matter, Mei? Tony asked in confusion. Help our Mr. Lucifer arrange a house. You will live here from now on. Lucifer. Mei Gan finished talking to Tony first, then turned to Lucifer and said, I will listen to you, Mr. Wizard. Lucifer heard this and said after bending slightly, you don't have to be so polite when talking to me. Just be casual and call me Mei Gan or Mei from now on. Don't call me Mr. Wizard. Mei Gan patted Lucifer on the shoulder and said, okay, thank you, family. Lucifer nodded and thanked Mei Gan sincerely. You're welcome, Mei Gan said, after waving his hand. Tony took Lucifer to the front after hearing the words. There happened to be several unoccupied houses over there. Watching Tony and Lucifer leave, Mei Gan looked down at his watch. It was time for lunch now. Mei Gan didn't want to go back to the flower shop to cook, so he went straight to the physical therapy center to have a free meal. Anyway, Aunt Mei always made an extra portion every time she cooked, just in case Mei Gan went over to eat. When Mei Gan went to eat, in an Air Force district in the United States of America, Banner's old father-in-law, General Ross, was walking into an office in a military uniform. From today on, he will be in charge of the entire American Air Force as the only Air Force general. But Mei Gan's order to him was to directly take charge of the entire American country. He is moving towards that goal. His first goal now is to take control of all the troops in the United States, whether it is the Air Force, the Army, or the Navy. Chapter 260. Cooler than my dad. Night. Kalimda Block. Veteran Tavern. Mei Gan was sitting inside with everyone else. Tonight was a welcome party for Lucifer, which was already a tradition in the block. Mei Gan was sitting at the bar with Tony and others. There were drinks and some food on the bar, all bought by Steve in Chinatown, and some bought online. Just then, the little guy, Nora and Ian, were sneaking towards the bar. The three little guys were targeting the food on the bar. For the kids, these foods from China were full of temptations for them, especially the spicy ones, which they loved very much. Lucifer turned around and looked at the three little guys hiding behind him. Feeling the huge magic power of the little girl behind him, he was immediately surprised. He didn't expect that a child here could have such magic power. Banner, Bruce Banner, Mr. King of Hell, what's the problem? Lucifer turned to look at Banner and was about to ask something, but suddenly forgot Banner's name. Seeing this, Banner hurriedly introduced himself to Lucifer. This is a thigh, and he must hug it tightly. Although he has already hugged Mei Gan's thick thigh tightly, who would dislike having too many legs? Mr. Banner, you can still call me Morning Star or Lucifer, just don't call me the King of Hell or something like that. By the way, who is the little girl behind me, who actually has a huge magic power on her body? Lucifer now hates the two words hell, which reminds him of the difficult years when he was exiled to hell. Okay, Lucifer, are you talking about little Sissy? She is Mei's child. You should know that there is a saying in the East that dragons give birth to dragons and phoenixes give birth to phoenixes, so. Banner leaned over and looked behind Lucifer, then explained for him. She is so cute, you can like her at first sight. Lucifer looked at the little girl who was reaching out to the bar to get the spicy strips with a gentle look. At this moment, a big yellow hand grabbed the little girl's hand directly, and the happy little girl was stunned. She was about to get it. Why did Sheng Yaojin suddenly come out? You don't need to think about who came to stop her. The little girl's face suddenly drooped. Go to your mother. She has candy in her hand. Little girl, you'd better not eat so much of these things. Mei Gan pulled the little girl to his side and said to her, Dad, I'm not a child anymore. I don't eat candy. And I only eat a little bit. Mommy ate it all for me. If you don't let me eat it, you don't love me anymore. The little girl shouted very dissatisfiedly. That's right, let the little girl eat a little. What's the fear? Don't let her eat it. With her physique, how could she be afraid of these things? Looking at Mei Gan, Tony, the godfather of little Sissy, was unhappy and said directly. Mei Gan glared at Tony next to him. He actually used this trick. It was really insidious. Yes, the godfather is still good to me, the little guy said with a pout. Mei Gan was immediately struck by lightning, and his heart was half cold. He turned his head and glared at Tony, shouting, Steve, don't stop me. I want to burn this guy to ashes. I didn't stop you. You do it. Mei, I will never stop you, Steve said to Mei Gan with a smile. Looking at these two somewhat childish guys, Steve and others showed a smile. Mei Gan was a little embarrassed to respond after hearing this. Lucifer next to him looked at Mei Gan with some surprise. Such a powerful wizard actually has such a childish side. I really can't see it. But this should be the so-called true temperament. Incredible. Don't be surprised. Mei is actually very easy to get along with. You see, we have always been getting along like this. You'll get used to it. Johnny next to Lucifer said, hugging his shoulders. It's really unbelievable. Lucifer turned his head and looked at Johnny and replied with a smile. Come on, don't think too much. Since you've already moved in, you're one of us. Cheers. Johnny held a huge wine glass in his hand and stretched it out in front of Lucifer. Lucifer breathed a sigh of relief. His smile was even brighter than before. He clinked glasses with Johnny and drank the red wine in the glass in one gulp. And just at this moment, a voice came from outside. Wow, it's really lively here. Barton walked into the pub with his wife and 2 children. Why are you free to come here today, man? Tony saw Barton appear and hurried towards Barton, his face full of enthusiasm. Mei is still furious. You have to stay away quickly to avoid getting burned. But Barton looked at Tony in confusion. Why is this proud playboy so enthusiastic towards him today? It shouldn't be. I originally wanted to take the kids to travel, but Natasha said we could come here. It's very lively here, so I brought the kids here. Although Barton was confused, he still explained to Tony. Wow, Lila, is that the Captain and the Hulk? Is that the Ash Wizard? Oh my god, I actually saw the Ash Wizard alive. A little boy next to Barton was shouting. Where? Let me see. At this time, a little head popped out from behind the little boy. It was Lila the boy mentioned. You're really slow. Barton, hi. Laura, long time no see. Natasha saw Barton's family and hurriedly walked up to them and shouted. In the end, she didn't forget to hug Barton's wife. I came very quickly. Natasha, you should know that we live very far away. Barton replied to Natasha with a smile. Forget it. Let's go. Let's go in and talk. Natasha shrugged and invited a few people to talk. Hello, are you Iron Man? At this time, Cooper was pulling Tony's pants beside his legs and asked Tony. There was a gleam of admiration in his eyes. It seems that this little guy likes Iron Man very much. Of course, little guy, what's your name? Tony squatted down and looked at Cooper and asked. Cooper, Mr. Iron Man, can you take a photo with me? wearing your iron suit. I think you are the coolest, cooler than my dad," Cooper said excitedly to Tony, and then took out a camera from his pocket. Tony heard it and immediately felt a burst of pleasure in his body and mind. "I didn't expect that I had such a little fan," which was really exciting. Of course, little guy. After saying that, Tony called out the mark armor, then picked up the little guy, and the two took a photo together. "Thank you very much, Mr. Iron Man. You are so cool." After the little guy Cooper said that, he turned and ran towards Barton's position. Tony showed an ant-like smile on his face and watched the little guy run away. When Tony wasn't paying attention, Cooper turned around and ran to Banner, then repeated the same words to Banner and took another photo. "Thank you very much, Mr. Hulk. You're cooler than my dad." Chapter 261, Such an Arrogant Mage. In the pub, Cooper finally walked to Mei Gan's side, and his face once again showed admiration. The performance of this little guy tonight made everyone present smile involuntarily. It seems that he came prepared. He took out his camera and took a photo with Mei Gan. A satisfied smile immediately appeared on his face, and he didn't forget to say at the end, "Thank you very much, Mr. Magician. You are much cooler than my dad. You are the coolest." Then he turned around and left with satisfaction. Mei Gan and Steve next to him looked at each other blankly, and then they both laughed. Just now, the little guy told Steve that he was the coolest, and in a blink of an eye he said to Mei Gan, "This kid is really fickle. Barton, your son is really interesting." Seeing Barton coming over here, Steve pushed a glass of wine to Barton and said, "Don't say it. It gives me a headache. That kid is very naughty." When he mentioned his son, Barton rubbed his forehead as if he had a headache now. "You're still not happy. Look at Banner. He's really jealous now." Tony walked to the side of the crowd, pointed at Banner who was drinking alone next to him and said, "This is." Barton took the wine Steve handed over, heard Tony's words, just smiled, didn't answer, drank a sip of wine, saw Lucifer sitting next to him, and asked with some confusion, "When did a stranger appear here again? Is he May's friend?" "Lucifer." Mornings to Lucifer heard the words, raised the wine glass in his hand, and then smiled and introduced himself to Barton. "Lucifer, is it the Lucifer I know?" Barton said with his eyes wide open looking at Lucifer. "Yes, it's the Lucifer you think of, but he is from another world. You should know about the other world." Johnny walked to Barton's side and said, "This is really incredible. Although I know the existence of Thor, this is the first time I have seen the devil of hell." Barton looked at Lucifer and whispered with some curiosity, "Aren't you used to it yet? In this world, I wouldn't be surprised, even if God landed next to us later." Johnny turned his head and whispered to Patton. Patton immediately felt that Johnny made sense. At this moment, the news of the fire suddenly appeared on the TV hanging on the wall. The little guy who was just acting coquettishly in Mei Gan's arms suddenly jumped out of Mei Gan's arms. Then he ran outside, and while running, he shouted to Audrey who was chatting with Betty and other women not far away, "Mommy, lend me your fireball quickly." Audrey heard the words, smiled helplessly, and then threw the fireball on her neck to the little guy. The little guy took the fireball, and then shouted to the turret, "Brother Peter, I'm going over first." As soon as the voice fell, the little guy nodded the watch on his hand. Suddenly, the little guy was covered with mark armor all over his body. Boom! The little guy drove the mark armor into the sky and flew into the distance. Soon, it disappeared from the eyes of everyone in the block. "This is..." Lucifer pointed at the little guy who soared into the sky and asked Banner, "Oh, this is little Sissy going to save people. She is the famous pink Iron Man on our Earth. This name is really nice." Little superhero Banner explained to Lucifer. As soon as Banner finished speaking, Lucifer saw two figures rushing out from the turret outside. He felt that they were two children. They were probably only in their teens. This street is really full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Get used to it, Lucifer. Our street is called the Superman Street. Banner on the side continued to explain to Lucifer. Lucifer nodded when he heard it. Just when Mei Gan and others were having a party, in the distant starry sky, Thanos was sitting on his throne. He closed his eyes and seemed to be resting. At this moment, a ray of light flashed in the distance, and a hula hoop shaped spaceship suddenly appeared and then stopped not far from Thanos. The blue light shone down, and the embarrassed figure of Ebony Moore appeared below. When Ebony Moore saw Thanos, he quickly ran towards him. Father, Father. Ebony Moore knelt down under Thanos and addressed Thanos as father instead of king. Thanos opened his eyes upon hearing this and first looked at Ebony Moore. His eyes, full of pressure, interrupted Ebony Moore's next words, and then Thanos slowly spoke. Ebony Moore, it seems that you have failed. Did Black Dwarf and the others stay there forever? Thanos' calm voice made Ebony Moore's body tremble. After swallowing hard, he said, yes, Father, the three of them stayed there forever. Father, there are two powerful and terrifying figures on Earth, and we are not their opponents. Especially one of the wizards. He used magic to suck Black Dwarf and the others into mummies. That magic was too terrible. Ebony Moore's body still trembled faintly when he thought of the scene at that time. Mage. Thanos was slightly stunned upon hearing this. He received the news. Wasn't the supreme sorcerer who protected the Earth already dead? Why did such a terrible wizard still exist? Yes, Father, and he also asked me to bring you a message, Ebony Moore said again. What are you talking about? Tell me what you are talking about. Thanos thought that it was probably just some harsh words or threats to him, and there would be no good words. He told you to put an end to your idea of taking the gem, otherwise he would destroy you. Ebony Moore said to Thanos truthfully without exaggerating. Haha, what an arrogant wizard. In this case, I have to meet him even more. I have become interested in that wizard. Thanos rubbed the two gems on his left hand and sneered twice. By the way, Father, he also said that there is a woman who you have always wanted to see. I guess he is wrong. When will you have a woman who you have always wanted to see? Ebony Moore lowered his head and spoke again. What? However, Thanos stood up suddenly after hearing this and suddenly thought of the scene when he saw death last time. Suddenly, Thanos had a bad feeling. Anger rose in his heart, and Thanos' hatred for Mei Gan suddenly rose to the first target he wanted to kill. Father. Ebony Moore raised his head slightly, looked at the gloomy Thanos, and called out tentatively. Ebony Moore, notify everyone that I will go to Earth in person. Thanos said to Ebony Moore with murderous intent in his eyes. Yes, Father. Ebony Moore turned and left after hearing that. A few days later, on a weekend morning, Mei Gan and Uncle Long took the three little ones to the playground. A few days ago, I promised the three little ones that I would take them to the playground. Mei Gan was driving in the front, and Uncle Long took the three little ones to sit in the back seat, all the way to the playground. In a small park in the next block, a small plant was breaking out of the ground and emitting light. It was a plant that did not belong to Earth. Chapter 262. Damn it. At noon. Although it was a day off, the neighborhood was very quiet today because the noisy little guys had gone to the amusement park to play. Otherwise, you could see a few little guys running around on Adam and Eve's backs. Those who opened shops, those who were dating went to date, and only Norman and Steve, two idle people, were fishing in the park lake. Audrey was working at school, and even on a day off, she had a lot of work to do. In the distant universe, on a planet with a human face, Quill was very happy to find his father. He was thinking about living on this planet in the future. Just today, after he had a big fight with the girl in his heart, his father came to talk to him about his ideals, and then took him to a place. His father even told him that he could live forever, which was really cool. However, he didn't know that all this was his father's conspiracy, and he was just one of his father's many offspring, but he was the only one who carried the god gene. Just as Quill was pierced through the chest by his father's blue energy. On Earth, in the park next to the Kalimda block, the plant that emitted a faint blue light suddenly began to surge, and the blue substance that looked like pudding suddenly surged in one direction. And the place where it surged was exactly the Kalimda block where Mei Gan and his friends lived. The substance that emitted a faint blue light was very fast, and in the blink of an eye it had spread to the front of Kalimda. And at this moment, Adam and Eve, who were napping next to the two defense towers, suddenly woke up and ran out at a very fast speed. Then they kept roaring at a place. The roar resounded throughout the block. In the park, the moment Norman, who was fishing with Steve, heard the sound, he immediately stood up, threw down the fishing rod in his hand, turned around and ran out of the park. As he ran, Norman said to Steve, who was looking puzzled, "Something happened, Captain. That's Adam and Eve reminding us." As the best friend of the two Shadow Wolves besides Mei Gan and Little Sissy, Norman could certainly understand the meaning of the two Shadow Wolves' roars. Steve, who was standing still, heard the words. His expression suddenly changed, and then he ran directly to the outside of the park. He was very fast, and in the blink of an eye he surpassed Norman, who was an old man. Just as Steve ran outside, the blue substance had directly covered half of the houses in the block, including Mei Gan's flower shop. Fortunately, there were no people there today, otherwise there would definitely be several casualties. Even Gwen and Peter were not in the block. Boom. The sound of the house collapsing was heard, alarming Uncle Kyan, who was receiving guests in the physiotherapy center, and Kato, who was making coffee in the cafe. There was also Audrey, who was working in the school. Audrey heard the loud sound. Her beautiful eyebrows slightly frowned, and then she looked at the red dragon, who seemed to have no feeling, and ignored it. With the red dragon here, and Kyan and Steve, it's probably another bank robbery or something like that. He never thought that this was the sound of his house collapsing. On the other side, Uncle Kyan and his friends ran out of the physiotherapy center or the cafe and saw the blue glowing substance rushing towards them at a glance, except Uncle Kyan, who was blind and could only feel it. Gan, what the hell is this? It looks so disgusting. Fuck, these things are like what is sprayed out of chrysanthemums, and they are blue. They must have eaten too many blueberries. Linda couldn't help but spray. Hearing this, Kato quietly wiped the non-existent sweat beads, then suddenly pulled Evely and Linda next to him and ran outside with the two girls. When running, Kato didn't forget to shout to Uncle Kyan and Aunt Mary in the distance, "Master, run, those disgusting things are coming." Uncle Kyan heard this and was about to run away with Aunt Mary. At this time, purple light suddenly bloomed, and a purple light shield like glass emerged, and then directly blocked the disgusting blue substance outside. Black light was flowing on the purple light shield. Lucifer, the new resident, was floating above the block. Behind him, a pair of white wings were flapping slightly. Lucifer also had purple rising on his body, and in his charming pupils, purple light was flowing, like flowing water. "What is this? Money?" Lucifer landed beside Uncle Kyan and asked him. A few days ago, at the welcome party, Lucifer had already met everyone. "I don't know why this block is so unlucky. The flower shop is destroyed again, and the defense tower built by the stinky boy is useless. The house should be destroyed or destroyed." Uncle Kyan said speechlessly. "This can't be blamed on Mei Gan. Who said that the people who came recently were all strong people that Shadow Wolf couldn't deal with?" Kyan, Lucifer. At this time, Steve ran over here and saw the destroyed houses at a glance. The pupils shrank suddenly. This Mei is probably going to go crazy again. Steve looked at the destroyed flower shop and said involuntarily, those blue substances could not flow towards Uncle Kyan and others, so they had to spread to both sides. Boom boom, houses were destroyed and crushed by those substances, and the cars on the road were also crushed and destroyed. The poor Big Apple City once again ushered in the disaster. The blue substance that was supposed to stop flowing out a little bit showed no sign of stopping. I wonder if it was because of Mei Gan, the butterfly. S.H.I.E.L.D. Trident headquarters. Nick Fury, who received the news from Alexander, quickly turned on the screen in front of his desk. Suddenly, what happened in the block appeared in front of him. Fuck, what is this disgusting thing? Nick Fury looked at the picture on the screen and felt sick in his heart. Pot, pot, pot. An urgent knock on the door sounded. "Come in, sir, something happened." Hill walked into Nick's office with Carlson and Natasha, and Hill said anxiously, "I already know." Nick pointed to the screen in front of him and said to several people in a deep voice, "What on earth is this?" Natasha asked with a frown while looking at the picture on the screen. "Don't worry about what it is for now, Natasha. Call Mei and tell him that his house has been destroyed again." Nick turned and looked at Natasha and said, "I know." Natasha nodded. She turned around and went to inform Mei Gan. At the same time, on the block, "Kato, call your brother Kyan and ask him to come back." Uncle Kyan turned and shouted to Kato, who was just coming back. Only Mei Gan knew what was going on, and the source still had to be figured out. Just when both sides called Mei Gan was standing at the ticket office of a Ferris wheel with Uncle Long and three little guys. and in little Sissy's arms, she was holding a yellow-haired orange cat. Chapter 263 The Stallion of the Celestial Race. Big Apple City. On the playground, little Sissy was looking at the orange cat in her arms with great joy. She had just picked up this orange cat at the gate of the playground. When Mei Gan and others just appeared at the gate of the playground, this orange cat suddenly appeared, and then followed Mei Gan and others. To be precise, it followed little Sissy. Then, after discovering the orange cat, little Sissy happily took the orange cat for herself. Mei Gan, who was standing aside, frowned slightly when he looked at the orange cat, and then slowly let go. This orange cat is a human devourer. It is the fat cat that caught Nick blind. Why didn't it just follow Nick properly and run here? However, Mei Gan did not feel any malice in it, so he did not care about the existence of this orange cat. Dad, look at Xiaoju. Is it good looking? Little Sissy raised the orange cat in her hand and said with a smile while looking at Mei Gan. Good looking. Mei Gan nodded slightly and responded with a smile. Then let's take it home and keep it, okay? The little guy looked at Mei Gan with expectation. Of course, as long as you like it, Mei Gan said without caring. Anyway, with him around, this orange cat would not pose a threat to them. Moreover, it is unknown whether this orange cat will still be so arrogant after seeing the other pets in the neighborhood. The little chicken has been unhappy at Mei Gan's feet for a long time, and a fat cat also came to snatch its little Sissy. This is unforgivable. If it weren't for the fact that little Sissy liked this orange cat very much now, it would probably have turned back to its original form and roasted the orange cat alive with a phoenix flame. Little chicken, little Sissy is fickle. Just follow me. Nora held the little chicken in her arms and said softly, I'm not like that, Sister Nora. I just think this orange cat is pitiful. Hearing this, the little guy immediately jumped up like a kitten whose tail was stepped on. Okay. Then you give me the orange cat and I'll give you the chick, Nora said with a joking smile. That won't work. Orange cats are very picky. The little guy found the reason and refused directly. Okay. Nora looked at the orange cat in the little guy's arms without even looking at her, so she had to give up. Mei Gan and Uncle Long looked at the conversation between the two little guys and couldn't help but smile at each other. At this moment, the people who were buying tickets suddenly heard a voice from the TV. Looking at the familiar scene at the end of the TV screen, Mei Gan's eyes widened, and then he felt like his chest was about to explode. Who the hell destroyed my house again? I curse your ancestors all. At Mei Gan cursed directly. The curse directly attracted the attention of the crowd, and a group of people turned to look at Mei Gan. With contempt in their eyes, they all wanted to see which guy was so uncultured that he actually cursed here. At the same time, Mei Gan's cell phone rang suddenly. Mei Gan answered the phone, and then heard Natasha's voice coming from the other side. Mei, something happened. Where are you? I saw it. I'll go back now. Mei Gan hung up the phone directly. Just as he put the phone in his pocket, it rang again. I already know. I'll go back immediately. Mei Gan saw that it was Kato's call, and after saying a word, he immediately hung up the phone. Damn guy, I already know who it is. When I go to find you, you will know what cruelty is. Mei Gan stared at the blue substance on the TV and said hatefully. Then, Mei Gan turned to the three little guys and said, let's go back first. Can I bring you to play next time? Look, our home is destroyed. After that, Mei Gan pointed to the TV on the wall. Uncle Long and the three little guys turned around and looked. At a glance, they saw the familiar defense tower and the collapsed house. Immediately, the three little guys nodded their heads. Little Sissy was still shouting that she wanted to give the bad guy who destroyed her house a few hammers. Mei Gan saw that he had comforted the little ones. The blue light in his hand lit up, and the blue staff appeared in Mei Gan's hand. Then, the blue light was strong, and they all disappeared on the spot. The crowd who were looking at Mei Gan and his friends looked at Mei Gan and his friends who suddenly disappeared. Suddenly, they all widened their eyes and shouted in disbelief. Oh my god. Who was that just now? Is it the Ash Mage? Oh my god. I was so close to my idol just now. Where is the Ash Mage's residence? Are they going to fight aliens again? A man pointed at the TV on the wall and said. The crowd was talking. Mei Gan's figure had returned to Kalimdor. White light bloomed. Mei Gan's figure appeared directly next to Uncle Gan and others. Seeing the destroyed flower shop with his own eyes, Mei Gan's anger was even greater. Brother Gan, you are back. Look at that disgusting thing on the other side. Kato said to Mei Gan hurriedly the moment he saw Mei Gan. I know. Mei Gan replied lightly. Then he turned his head to look at his physical therapy center that was still standing next to him, and looked at the purple light shield that was protecting this place. Mei Gan turned to Lucifer and said, thank you. You're welcome. This is my home now. Lucifer replied with a charming smile. What is this, Mei? On the side, Steve looked at the blue substance on the other side and asked Mei Gan. It's a clone planted by a stud on the earth. I'm going to find him now. Mei Gan said hatefully, but he was also a little confused. When Star-Lord's stud father died, weren't these disgusting things only useful for a little bit? Why are they still surging now? If this continues, the earth may be controlled by that guy. Thinking of this, Mei Gan's figure floated directly into the air. Then, he used the staff in his hand to lightly point forward, and in an instant, the magic power penetrated into the ground like flowing water. The blue matter that was still surging around suddenly stopped surging. In a blink of an eye, the blue matter flowed back underground. The speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, more than half of it had flowed back. After a few breaths, the blue matter that surged to the ground had disappeared and flowed back underground. Then, Mei Gan gently moved his left hand. A blue ball of light directly jumped out of the ground and floated in front of Mei Gan. Mei Gan gently tapped the blue ball of light that floated in front of him with the staff in his hand. Instantly, Mei Gan had learned the information and breath in the ball of light. Now, it's time to find you, Ego, the stallion of the Celestial clan. Mei Gan muttered, and then shot out an ice arrow from the staff in his hand, directly shooting the blue ball of light. The scattered light slowly floated towards the sky. Mei Gan looked up at the sky, as if he had already seen the planet with a human face in the universe. It just stays quietly in the universe. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 264 Untitled. Big Apple City. Block. Boom, a figure fell from the sky and landed beside everyone. What's going on, Steve? Tony asked Steve beside him with some confusion. After taking back the Mark armor he was wearing, he went to the laboratory to improve the armor in just half a day. How come half of the houses in the block have collapsed? Are those guys just not happy with the houses? At this time, Pietro ran in from outside with Banner on his back. Banner, the beast, actually rode Pietro over here. It was really amazing. He was not afraid of being seen by Wanda. Fortunately, she went on a date with Vision. Otherwise Gujan would have gone crazy when he saw this scene. His brother was already a Rotiku and couldn't find a girlfriend. Now he is being ridden by a grown man like you. Oh my god. Our house. The two figures came closer and Pietro looked at his home and suddenly felt a little uncomfortable. This was the first home for the two brothers and sisters. It collapsed just like that. Don't scream, Mei should recover in a while. Banner was much calmer. After all, he had experienced this kind of thing many times and had a certain resistance. Mei Gan's figure slowly landed in front of everyone. The time gem appeared in his left hand. The magic power surged, time flowed backwards, and the block that was just a ruin was restored to its original appearance in the blink of an eye. Mei, who is the enemy? Steve had already pulled out his long knife and said to Mei Gan, it's a guy from the Celestial clan. I have found his location. Do you want to go with me? Mei Gan's eyes flashed with a dangerous light and said to everyone, of course, we are good partners and good brothers. Tony responded directly, okay, then we will go now, and we can't let him run away. Mei Gan nodded and responded, and then the blue staff in his hand burst into an unprecedented light. Everyone now felt like they were in a blue ocean. Swoosh, the white light burst out, and the figures of everyone disappeared above the block. In the vast universe, in a certain area, blue light burst out. In the center of the light, a planet with a human face was floating. Inside the planet, Star-Lord was being penetrated by blue energy in the chest. In front of him was his father, Ego. Ego was glowing with blue light, and the divine power in Star-Lord was flowing towards him little by little. Not far away, Gamora, who seemed to be the sister of the Hulk, was bound by a blue energy and could not move. And beside her, Nebula was also bound by blue energy. A dilapidated small spaceship was lying in the distance. Rocket Raccoon was holding an energy gun and constantly attacking the blue energy wandering around him, and Groot, the tree man, was lying on his shoulder. Yondu, with blue skin, whistled, and a red arrow kept wandering around him, blocking the blue energy attacking him. Drax the Destroyer held two daggers that were seriously out of proportion to his body and looked at the blue tentacles rising into the sky with caution. From time to time, he used the dagger to block the tentacles that fell towards him. Behind him, the girl with two tentacles, Mantis, was lying quietly on the ground, but she had already fainted. Give up, you ants. The universe belongs to me, and you will eventually perish in this universe. Ego's body glowed. Looking at Rocket Raccoon and Yondu who were fighting against him, he said disdainfully, "Fuck, don't be too arrogant, Ego." Raccoon cursed, and then his body kept flashing, avoiding the tentacles that just fell on him. "It's almost time. When my clones control those planets, then I will personally send you to extinction," Ego said harshly. He was just a little bit short of time. And at this moment, "You just said that the universe is yours." The sudden voice immediately attracted everyone's attention, and even Ego turned his head to look. Not far away, a blue magic circle emerged, and the dazzling white light dissipated. The figures of Mei Gan and others appeared in front of them. Looking at the group of people who suddenly appeared, Ego's pupils shrank slightly. Listening to the tone of the man just now, it seemed that he was dealing with him. However, he didn't seem to have seen these people before. How did he get involved? Could it be his clone? But it didn't matter. Just kill them directly. Rocket Raccoon and others not far away were happy. Looking at the people who just appeared, they knew without asking that they should be Earthlings. Their skin color and shape were so similar. And Quill, who had been drained of divine power, felt a sense of familiarity the moment he saw Mei Gan and others. "Who are you?" Ego looked at Mei Gan and others and said, "The person who killed you, Stud, actually destroyed my house. Today I will beat you so hard that your mother can't recognize you." Mei Gan was furious when he saw Ego. He said fiercely, "Do I know you? When did I destroy your house?" Although he guessed that it was his clone who did it, Ego still didn't want to admit it. "You dare to be stubborn?" Before Mei Gan answered, Tony glared at Ego and said coldly, "The clone on Earth is yours, right? You destroyed my house, so you don't want to live today. Also, your body is very good. Now I declare that it is mine." Mei Gan looked at this beautiful planet and liked it very much. There was also an item that was taken out and not used in the space. It couldn't be better to put it here. Mei Gan thought to himself, "Haha, are you sure? Earthlings, everyone can talk big, then let's see if you have the ability to take it." After hearing Mei Gan's words, Ego couldn't help laughing out loud, looking at Mei Gan as if he was a fool. Who is he? He is a god. Just because he is a human from the backward planet of Earth, he dares to talk big like this. Can he teleport here directly? It seems that you don't believe it, so. The blue staff in Mei Gan's hand suddenly burst into light. Boom! A huge tornado suddenly rose from under Ego's feet. It rolled him directly into the air. Countless wind blades suddenly appeared in the tornado and then cut towards Ego's body. In the blink of an eye, Ego was cut into pieces by the wind blades. The pieces fell to the ground one after another. Star-Lord, who was pierced through the chest by the blue tentacle, also fell to the ground at this time. At this time, the pieces suddenly squirmed. In the blink of an eye, they were reassembled. Ego's kind old man appearance appeared again. "Although your magic is very powerful, but I'm immortal." Ego turned his head and yelled at Mei Gan. "Forget, you will die only if your brain is destroyed. But if your brain is destroyed, the planet will explode directly, which is really a headache." Mei Gan touched his head and said with some worries, "So, since you have no other means, it's my turn to take action now." Chapter 265 Destroying the Guards. Somewhere in the universe, on a certain planet, the blue substance that had just been spreading suddenly stopped, and the blue light also dissipated directly, and the color turned directly into black. Aliens with all kinds of skin colors stopped their escape steps directly. They turned around and looked at the substance that stopped in front of them in confusion. Then, those aliens, speaking their language, knelt on the ground and kowtowed to the sky, perhaps thanking their gods. This scene is being played out on countless planets in the universe. And on the planet with a human face, the blue light has dissipated. Ego looked at Mei Gan, and his face showed a fierce look. This wizard knew his weakness and must be killed. The idea flashed through his mind. Ego stretched out his right hand and then raised it suddenly. Underground blue light bloomed. Then, more than a dozen blue tentacles rushed out from the ground and attacked Mei Gan. Be careful. Seeing this, Star-Lord, who had just been helped up by Gamora, hurriedly warned. However, Tony and the others did look at the tentacles that were attacking them, indifferent, and even looked at the blue tentacles with interest. Johnny on the side touched Banner's arm and said curiously, "Banner, ask Hulk if that girl is his sister. She looks a bit malnourished compared with Hulk." Get lost. Banner's face suddenly turned green when he heard this, and Hulk's voice came out of his mouth. Okay. If it's not, then it's not. Why are you so angry? Johnny shrugged and took a few steps back in fear, fearing that Hulk would come out of Banner's body and beat him up. On the other side, Mei Gan held the staff in his hand and raised it directly to his head. Purple light bloomed in the air. One after another, purple energy flashed with light and spun in the air. After the tentacles that were whipped towards Mei Gan and others touched the purple light, they exploded and turned into starlight dots and scattered on the ground. Disperse. Mei Gan whispered. Around. Star-Lord and others watched Mei Gan dispel Ego's energy so easily, and they were stunned. They didn't expect that this suddenly appeared human would be so powerful. They just stood here and watched. It was so easy. It was really unexpected. Across from Mei Gan, seeing that his attack was ineffective, Ego's pupils shrank slightly, and then he stretched out his hand forward. Behind him, blue energy emerged, and then directly bombarded Mei Gan. It was like a blue lightning. The speed exceeded the speed of sound. However, when the blue lightning bombarded Mei Gan, a blue lightning shield appeared in front of Mei Gan. The blue energy was directly blocked in front of him. Ego's attack had no effect. Damn it. Ego looked at his attack and cursed. It seems that your attack is useless. Now it's my turn to take action. Mei Gan said calmly. Then, Mei Gan stretched out his hand and grabbed the staff in front of him, then let go of the staff in his hand. The blue staff did not fall, but just floated in front of Mei Gan. A stream of red light was spinning around the staff. Then, Mei Gan muttered, "The devil is haunting me." As soon as the voice fell, several red streams of light penetrated directly into the ground. Like red lightning, it was very fast. Watching the streams of light penetrate into the ground, Ego's pupils shrank suddenly, and he had a bad premonition in his heart. Suddenly, he found that the red stream of light was running straight to his brain. The brain deep in the center of the earth. Cold sweat fell from his forehead all of a sudden. No, although he didn't know what the red streams of light were, he could feel the evil aura of the stream of light, which was a breath different from any energy. It was so evil and full of ominousness. However, everything was too late. The stream of light ran directly to the center of the earth and floated on the brain. The red stream of light slowly penetrated deep into Ego's brain. Bang! After the stream of light penetrated into the brain, an explosion sounded, and Ego's brain exploded just like that. However, it was a layer of skin that exploded. From the brain, a red brain appeared. The brain kept beating on the ground. As the color of the brain changed, Ego on the ground suddenly exploded, and the dust in the sky blocked everyone's sight. The dust dispersed, and a demon appeared in the original place. The demon had wings on its back, 2 long curved horns on its head, and 2 long tentacles on its chin. A pair of thick thighs like cow hooves stepped on the ground, and in his hand he held a long knife with yellow flames. The demon's red pupils looked at the people around him. Everyone who was scanned by the red pupils suddenly felt a chill behind them. Bang bang! The demon walked towards Mei Gan with a flaming long knife in his hand. The thick thigh stepped down, and the ground shook violently. It actually made Star-Lord and the others feel unstable. Steve looked at the demon that was approaching him and was about to say something to Mei Gan with some worry, but Mei Gan stretched out his hand to interrupt him. Boom, when the red demon walked 1 meter away from Mei Gan, the demon suddenly knelt on one knee in front of Mei Gan. Dear master, please give me your orders. The demon knelt on one knee in front of Mei Gan, and a low voice sounded, which made everyone's eyes widen immediately. Unexpectedly, this guy was summoned by Mei Gan. Demon Entanglement, the ultimate move of the Abyss Demon King, makes the enemy demon entangled, and the enemy will suffer a lot of damage until death, and then a destruction guard will be born on the enemy's corpse. From today on, you will guard this planet. Any creature that breaks in without my order will be your enemy, and you only need to use the long knife in your hand to chop off the intruder's head. Mei Gan ordered the destruction guard in a low voice. Yes, my respected master. The destruction guard responded respectfully to Mei Gan. After receiving Mei Gan's order, the destruction guard stood up and then walked towards Star-Lord and others with a flaming long knife in his hand. He was going to execute Mei Gan's order. He was going to chop off the heads of these intruders who did not have the master's order. At this time, Star-Lord and others turned around. They looked at the destruction guard approaching them with some panic. This demon seemed to be much more difficult to deal with than Ego. Seeing this scene, Mei Gan touched his forehead speechlessly. So are these huge demons all brainless? Stop, these people don't count. I'm talking about the future. Do you understand? Mei Gan shouted directly to the destruction guard. This made him very embarrassed in front of Star-Lord and others. If he had known earlier, he would have used the talisman directly. How could such a thing happen in that case? After hearing Mei Gan's words, the destruction guard thought for a long time on the spot and then figured it out, then nodded and said, I understand, master. With his brain, this was already very fast. Mei Gan breathed a sigh of relief. Chapter 266. It was such a happy decision. In the universe, a colorful planet is sailing in the universe, and the end of his voyage is near Mars. This planet is exactly the body of Ego, but now it is occupied by the destruction guard, so it now belongs to Mei Gan. Mei Gan led everyone to admire this beautiful planet. Although the planet is very beautiful, most of it is plants, and there are indeed no animals. It is too deserted. The scenery here is much more beautiful than that on Skull Island. Tony stood on a big rock, looking at the bright plants of different colors around him, and said with emotion, that's true. If you bring everyone here to play and vacation, it will be a different experience. Steve said beside him. After being friends with Mei Gan and others for so long, Steve has been infected. He will also be lazy and travel when he has something to do. He often goes to Skull Island with Linda. It's just too deserted. It would be nice if there were more creatures. Banner picked a fruit that looked like it could be eaten from a small tree next to him and said with regret, under the small tree, many rotten fruits fell. Although there are no animals, there are still many small insects. Banner, don't eat the food here carelessly, otherwise many will have to work hard to save you later. Looking at the insects waving their little wings and flying around a blooming flower, Johnny joked to Banner next to him. The insects flying in the air look like bees. I don't know why their number has not increased without natural enemies. It is probably because the owner of Ego's previous planet will manage them when he has nothing to do. Banner didn't say anything, but looked at Johnny as if he was a fool. Would he be the same as him? Pick the fruit and eat it. If you want animals, leave this matter to me. Tony Stark. Things that can be solved with money are not a problem. Tony said very arrogantly. No need. There will be several planets without civilization on the road ahead. When the time comes, just catch some and raise them in captivity. Mei Gan pointed to the sky and said directly, well, I have lost my chance to show off again, Tony said with regret. How many animals can we catch with just a few of us? Banner asked with some confusion. Yeah, it seems that I still have to spend money to buy them. Tony slapped his thigh and said excitedly, it seems that he will not feel comfortable if he does not spend some money. It's great to be rich. No need. Mei Gan refused to let this arrogant guy get his way. Then he led everyone to choose a place. And behind everyone, little Sissy, the demon just now has grown so big. Should we go find him to play? Ian pulled little Sissy and Nora and discussed furtively behind Mei Gan and others. No. If dad finds out later, he will be scolded. Little Sissy was a little tempted, but she was afraid of being scolded. The tangled expression appeared on her little face, which looked particularly cute. What are you afraid of? Anyway, that big guy's also your father's subordinate, and this planet is already your father's, so it won't be a problem to go anywhere. Ian has been advocating beside the little guy. Don't listen to Ian, little sissy. He is just a troublemaker. If your father and Bob know about it, we will all be scolded. Nora pulled little sissy forward, not giving her brother any face at all. After walking a few steps, she turned back and made a face at Ian. The three little guys didn't notice that not far away, Lucifer was looking at them with an aunt's smile. Children are so cute, especially little sissy. Should I also find a woman to have a child? Lucifer touched his chin and thought in his heart. Another adult captured by little sissy. Everyone followed behind Mei Gan and began to look at the surrounding scenery. Star-Lord and others have not left yet, mainly because they dare not. Mei Gan didn't say anything, and they really didn't dare to leave casually. After all, when Mei Gan killed Ego, he turned Ego into a demon. This is a ruthless man. It is better not to offend him casually. Mei, what do you think of building a villa here? Tony said after looking around for a while, when they walked to the lake. Mei Gan heard it and looked around. The lakeside had a wide view. The place where Mei Gan and others stood was a green grassland. On the right, there were some unknown flowers growing in various colors, which were quite beautiful. On the left, there was a small earth slope. The small earth slope was very open, and there were some strange trees growing sparsely on it. If the villa was built on it, it would be perfect. Especially the lake in front. The lake was very vast, with no edge in sight. The green lake water, and from time to time, there were brightly colored fish jumping out of the lake. The visible edge of the lake was all green grass. This place is great. Banner also nodded in agreement. I don't think I ever said I wanted to build a house here. Mei Gan looked at these guys who acted on their own. Why did they feel like eunuchs? Aren't you picking a place to build a villa? Why are you running around with us? To see the scenery, Tony said speechlessly. Okay. Since you all say this place is good, let's build a villa here. But you have to wait for me to put something there first. Mei Gan thought about it and decided that he still had to have a house here. Otherwise he would have to live with that stupid devil when he came here. So, my brain is still good, and I will be responsible for building the house. We have made a happy decision. Tony waved his hand, and a heroic spirit rushed towards everyone. Tony's body was shining with golden light. It blinded everyone's dog eyes. Let's go. Let's go to the distance first. Mei Gan finished speaking, and without waiting for everyone to reply, he took everyone to fly away. Flying for a while, Mei Gan led everyone to a piece of red land. There was a big winding river around the land. Not far away, there were several emerald green mountains. This place was very suitable. Mei Gan thought about it, and landed with everyone. This place is very ordinary. Why did you bring us here? Tony asked in confusion. You will know in a while. Mei Gan smiled mysteriously and then asked Tony, do you know anything about land? Help me see if these red lands are suitable for growing food. Mysterious guy, Tony muttered, then squatted down, pinched the land on the ground, and then smelled it slightly. Nodding, he said, it's very suitable. I guess there is a volcano on the mountain in front, so the land here is very fertile, but it should have not erupted for a long time. That's good, then here it is. Mei Gan smiled and was very excited when he thought about what he was going to do in a while. Then he looked around. Chapter 267 How do they reproduce? Inside the planet, Mei Gan was looking around. Everyone was looking at Mei Gan, wanting to see what he was going to do. At this moment, Mei Gan looked at the curved river in the distance. There was a small hill with several fruit trees with unknown fruits on it. Mei Gan hurriedly walked over there. Not long after, everyone followed Mei Gan to the hill. The hill was very spacious, as big as several football fields. Mei Gan was very satisfied with it. Then he stretched out his right hand, palm up. A red light flashed. Then, everyone saw a red-roofed building lying quietly in Mei Gan's hand. The house was circular in shape, built with wood and unknown stones. On the red roof, there were several beams made of white ivory. It looked very simple. Dad, what is this? It looks so ugly. Little Sissy walked to Mei Gan's side, tilted her head, and asked in confusion. there was still a look of disgust on her face. This thing is amazing. Don't think it looks bad. You'll know in a minute. Mei Gan touched the little guy's head with his left hand and said proudly, "Then show me how amazing this house model is." The little guy was immediately curious when he heard it and clapped his hands to urge Mei Gan. "Okay, just watch and watch Dad create a race for you to see." "Wait, creating a race? You are not kidding." Tony and others heard the words and their eyes widened. Creating a race? This is God's duty. Now the man in front of him actually said that he wanted to create a race. Even if they knew that Mei Gan's fighting power was very powerful, even if Mei Gan said he was invincible, they would believe it. But creating a race, they really couldn't accept it. Tony and others didn't believe it, but there was someone who believed it. That was Lucifer, the angel created by God. Even the old man God could create an angel race, not to mention Mei, who was feared by God. Just watch carefully. Mei Gan ignored their doubts and said directly. Mei Gan threw the building in his hand forward. After he finished speaking, the building with a red roof drew a red arc in the air and then quickly enlarged. Boom sounded. The building landed steadily on the ground, splashing a cloud of dust and spreading in all directions. Looking at the huge house that suddenly appeared in front of them, everyone was a little confused. Didn't they say to create a race? How could they throw out a house? Was it for the created race to live in advance? It's so big. It's estimated to be more than 1,000 square meters. But no one asked, just waiting for Mei Gan's next operation. After a while, the dust dissipated, preventing a sudden sound inside. It was the sound of footsteps, getting closer and closer. Everyone looked at the door of the house with curiosity. Not long after, the sound of footsteps was clearly heard by everyone, and several black figures were walking out of the building, becoming clearer and clearer. After a few breaths, everyone saw the appearance of those figures, and everyone stared at the figures walking out of the door with wide eyes. There were 3 humanoid creatures with green skin. They looked about 2 meters tall, with no hair on their heads, dull eyes, and 2 white and curved fangs sticking out of their mouths. They wore worn red linen clothes on their upper bodies, tattered brown linen pants on their lower bodies, and worn leather shoes. And on his sturdy arms, he was holding an axe. Orc laborers. And this building is the Orc Hall that can be bought in the Orc shop. With the Orc Hall, you have the entire Orc tribe, and there is no population limit. If Thanos, who has been maintaining the balance of the universe, sees what Mei Gan did, he might curse. "I worked hard to kill a lot of people, and you created a lot of people here. Isn't this making things difficult for him?" At the moment when the 3 Orc laborers appeared, Mei Gan's system, which had been silent all the time, suddenly appeared automatically. The system panel appeared directly in front of Mei Gan. On the panel, the lottery panel had been hidden, and the panel that reappeared was a picture of all the buildings of the orcs in the game. However, only the lobby was operational now, and the storm altar and the barracks were all dim. Mei Gan reached out and gently tapped the icon in the lobby. The system screen changed, and 3 icons appeared on the panel. They were the coolie portrait icon, the upgrade icon, and the backpack icon. And the coolie portrait icon was divided into 2 small icons, one for male orcs and the other for female orcs. The system actually divided the male and female so reasonably. Mei Gan did not start clicking on the icons, but just closed the system panel and looked at the 3 orc coolies in front of him. When the 3 orc coolies saw Mei Gan, their figures shook violently, and then it seemed that something extra was in their minds, and they ran directly towards Mei Gan. They knelt down in front of Mei Gan, prostrating themselves. "Master, X3 go to the front to cut wood and stone and build a barracks and a storm altar for me." Mei Gan first pointed to the emerald green mountains in the distance and said to the 3 coolies, "Yes, my master." The 3 orc coolies answered directly. Then they ran towards the emerald green mountain with axes in hand. "This is the race you created, Mei." Tony turned to look at Mei Gan, swallowed his saliva and said, "How is it?" "They are called orcs, and they are born with great strength." Mei Gan pointed at the 3 orc coolies who were cutting down trees quickly. In just a short while, they had already cut down several large trees. "It's incredible." Steve walked to the side of the hall and touched the cold stone wall and said, "Mei, why are there only males in your orc tribe, but no females?" How do they reproduce? And there are only 3 of them. Banner asked the doubts in his heart. Then he said to himself, could it be that you are planning to? Banner said at the end, turning his head to look at Gamora, who also had green skin, which meant that everyone knew what Banner meant. Gamora was frightened by Banner's look, fearing that Mei Gan had the same idea in his mind. Go away, what are you talking about? How could I possibly have such an idea? Mei Gan glared at Banner unhappily. Hearing this, Gamora couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. It seemed that it was not what Banner said, otherwise she would have to die. After all, those orcs were really ugly. Good luck. Isn't it just a female? Don't worry. Mei Gan waved to Banner. Then he summoned the system panel again and clicked on the icon of the female orc. A long green bar appeared on the panel. After a while, the loading was completed, and after a while, there was a sound from the hall. Everyone waited for dozens of seconds. An orc of the same green color appeared in front of everyone, but this orc was slender and had no axe in his hand. In the eyes of everyone, Mei Gan just stretched out his hand and pointed in front, and a female orc walked out of the hall a moment later. It's really magical. Chapter 268 Storm Altar. Inside the planet, next to the big river. After a few hours, dozens of orc laborers have appeared around. They are working diligently, cutting trees, mining, and building dungeons. Next to the hall, 2 buildings are being built. From time to time, orcs pass by everyone. Mei Gan's magic power is used to produce these orc laborers. As long as the magic power is sufficient, the production can continue. For him with infinite magic power, this is not a problem. The planet shuttled rapidly in the universe. Not long after, Mei Gan sent a message to the destruction guard, and the planet slowly stopped, not far from a green planet. The green planet next to it is a planet with many animals, that Mei Gan said. Coincidentally, the barracks were also built at this time. The shape of the barracks is similar to the hall, with a red roof, made of wood and stone. Mei Gan summoned the system panel, and then saw that the barracks icon on the panel had lit up. Seeing this, Mei Gan started to produce orc infantry directly, but the headhunter still didn't light up, so now he could only produce orc infantry to catch animals. It would be better if the wolf cavalry was produced. The wolf cavalry is fast and can throw nets, so it is faster to catch animals. Mei Gan didn't hesitate for too long, just slowly waiting for the orc infantry to appear. Not long after, the light flashed in the barracks, and then a strong orc with a green body came out of the barracks gate with a sharp axe. The orc infantry was much taller than the coolie, and his strong muscles looked extremely strong. He also wore a silver steel armor on his head. Great god of creation, Goring is waiting for your orders. The orc infantry just walked out of the barracks and ran directly to Mei Gan, then knelt on one knee and said to Mei Gan with a pious expression. The orc infantry's IQ was much higher than the orc coolie who appeared before, and he could even flatter. Seeing how people addressed Mei Gan, the great god of creation, Mei Gan felt like he had eaten honey. Wait by the side now, wait for your partner to come out. Mei Gan nodded to the orc infantryman, and then said, your order is Gorin's lifelong belief, the great god of creation. The orc infantryman stood up after he finished speaking, then walked aside and waited quietly. But Mei Gan felt a shock all over his body when he heard this, and his heart was chilled. Is this first orc infantryman who came out so good at flattering? If he can talk, he should let this guy talk more. Not long after, there were more than a dozen orc infantrymen standing next to Gorin. They had different looks and were not made from the same template in the game, but the weapons in their hands were all the same battle axes. At this time, boom, a lightning bolt fell directly from the sky and landed on the storm altar. Purple lightning lit up in the storm altar. Everyone was attracted by this strange phenomenon and turned their heads to look at the location of the storm altar with curiosity. Lightning disappeared from the storm altar, and red flames lit up on the top of the storm altar. Everyone looked over and saw an altar built of white stones. A statue stood in the center of the altar, with its hands open, connected to 2 stone pillars on both sides, and 2 flames burning on the top of the stone pillars. 2 chains were tied around the wrists of the statue, hanging down and tied to 2 stone animal-shaped stone sculptures. Mysterious runes shone with red light, painted on the base of the statue and the 2 stone pillars. Mei, what kind of building is this? Tony looked at the storm altar in surprise and said curiously. The others were equally curious and turned to look at Mei Gan, waiting for Mei Gan's vitamin introduction. This is the storm altar, a building used to breed the strongest of the orcs. You will know later. I will breed one now to try. After Mei Gan explained to everyone, he looked at the system panel. Looking at the 4 shining heroes on the panel, Mei Gan was a little confused. Which one should he choose? Bladder Master, Tauren, Troll or Thrall? First of all, Bladder Master is the most popular. Mei Gan likes it very much. Moreover, its combat power is very strong, and it can be used as an assassin, but Mei Gan is not short of high-end combat power. Tauren has a durable aura, which is a good choice. Troll is also good. It has healing spells, and can summon cobras, which is very good. Therefore, Mei Gan chose Thrall. After all, Thrall is a leader hero, and has the skill of summoning shadow wolves. With him, Mei Gan can feel more at ease. If the Bladder Master is summoned first, who knows if this guy will invade that planet for the sake of fighting. After thinking about it, Thrall is more reliable. Mei Gan finished thinking. He lightly tapped the panel. Then the Thrall avatar on the panel suddenly disappeared, and lightning suddenly appeared above the storm altar, and the lightning bombarded the storm altar. But it did not damage the altar at all. The lightning wandered over the altar, and crackling sounds were heard from time to time. Everyone was amazed. In front of the altar, a cloud of mist appeared, and then it kept rolling. The wandering lightning also fell towards the mist when it appeared. The white mist shone with purple light, which was eye-catching. Wow, so beautiful. Dad, what is this? When little Sissy, who was looking at the orc infantry behind Mei Gan, saw the purple mist, she grabbed Mei Gan's arm and asked. The mist was like a colorful lantern, flashing purple light, making the little guy's big eyes stare at the mist, with love in his eyes. That's magic. You also have it. Mei Gan touched the head of the little guy beside him, and said with a smile. Oh, is it the black gas wandering in my body? Little Sissy said with big eyes. Yes, that's it. Mei Gan explained to the little guy without any impatience. After looking at the progress bar on the panel, it was estimated that it would take a long time for Thrall to be bred. Mei Gan turned around and looked at Star-Lord and the others and said, when are you going to leave? Do you want to follow us to Earth? Hearing Mei Gan's words, Steve and Tony frowned slightly. They didn't really want these guys to go to Earth, for fear that something might happen. Even if these guys didn't cause trouble, who knows if his enemies would find Earth directly. Mei Gan said that they were interstellar robbers. Star-Lord and the others looked at each other in confusion, and then Rocket Raccoon said, our spaceship is a little broken. When Yondu's men following us drive the spaceship over, we will leave here. Okay. Mei Gan nodded and agreed. Then Mei Gan looked at Nebula, who was standing not far from the crowd, and frowned. Seeing the look Mei Gan was looking at him, Nebula couldn't help but shrink his body, and felt a little flustered. Thanos' adopted daughter, and you too, Mei Gan said to Nebula, and then turned to look at Gamora not far away. He is my enemy, always has been. When talking about Thanos, Gamora only had hatred in her heart, without any other feelings. Chapter 269. The Godfather has no emotional intelligence. Inside the planet, Mei Gan led everyone to leave this plane, and fly to other places. This planet is quite big, at least 1.5 times the size of the Earth. If there is only one orc, wouldn't it be too lonely? Shouldn't the elves and the undead appear in this world? Forget about the undead, it pollutes the environment too much. Then there is only one undead. Forget about the human race, after all, he is a human. The existence of both races may have filled this planet with war, but it shouldn't be in the early stage. They will encounter each other sooner or later, when they grow stronger. Mei Gan flew specifically into the forest, trying to find a place where the elves can hatch. And the land must be fertile, and have sufficient water sources, so that the ancient tree of life can thrive. However, Mei Gan led everyone to fly through several forests, but did not see a place suitable for the elves to base. Mei, can you slow down? You have to tell us what you want to do. I feel a little dizzy. If I fly any further, I will vomit. Johnny touched his forehead and said to Mei Gan with great pain. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow, it's hard for him to feel uncomfortable. I'm looking for a forest with plenty of water and fertile land. I feel that they will be too lonely with only one orc tribe, so I want to create another race, Mei Gan said without turning his head. Originally, they could use their mental power to check or ask the destruction guards, but now they are so free, they just go and find it by themselves, just in time to see the scenery. Wait here, there is also. Everyone's eyes widened. Mei, can the race you create this time look better? You can't create them so ugly, just because you look ordinary. It's too unfair to them. Tony blurted out. Then, he was met with Mei Gan's murderous eyes. Mei Gan was very annoyed. If he didn't want Morgan to be sad, Mei Gan would have to cut Tony into pieces to let him know that people have mouths to say good things. What do you mean by ordinary? Is this ordinary? It's obviously handsome to the point of shaking the world. Damn Tony, he doesn't appreciate it. The next Steve and Banner were laughing. They actually wanted to see the scene where Tony was violent by Mun. His eyes stared and quickly shrunk his neck. Tony. Steve laughed involuntarily, and then the laughter made by several people in Banner. It was hard to hold back from laughing, especially Rocket Raccoon, who was laughing so hard that he didn't even notice Groot falling into the cloud created by Mei Gan's magic. Mei Gan's face darkened. What? Did I say something wrong? Little Sissy was unhappy. She turned to Steve and the others. Then, the little girl was interested in a branch that was climbing up from the cloud. She had never seen a branch that could walk, but her father said that he had the magic to bring trees back to life. And this. The little girl quickly let go of Mei Gan's clothes and moved towards Groot. Then she grabbed Groot, who was running towards Rocket Raccoon, with her little hand. Groot kept struggling in Little Sissy's hand, trying to break free from Little Sissy's palm. However, Little Sissy held him tighter and tighter. Little Sissy lifted Groot in front of her and tilted her head to look at Groot with some curiosity. Rocket Raccoon, who saw this scene, said to Little Sissy in a panic, "Little sister, don't be too strong. His body will break if you squeeze it. I'm just looking at him. He's so cute." Little Sissy said without turning her head. "I'm Groot." When Groot saw Little Sissy, he stopped struggling and was willing to be held in Little Sissy's palm. He also made a funny face and said the only words he could say now. But his face was made of wood, so he couldn't make a funny face at all. Wow. He's so cute. Mr. Raccoon, can you give him to me? Little Sissy looked at Raccoon expectantly. Rocket Raccoon didn't want to agree in his heart, but he didn't want to refuse Little Sissy's request. He could only stand there. Even Groot turned around with difficulty and looked at Raccoon with some expectation. Suddenly, a feeling of betrayal emerged from the bottom of his heart. This seemingly honest rotten would actually betray. Can this world still be good? No, don't separate the two of us. Baby Mei Gan walked to Little Sissy's side, touched her little head and said, "Okay." Little Sissy looked at Groot in her hand in the raccoon in front of her and nodded her head. This look hurt the raccoon's heart. He didn't have that kind of relationship with this piece of wood. An hour later, Mei Gan and others flew to the top of a mountain and saw a valley surrounded by 3 mountains. The valley was very large and there was a huge lake below. In the valley, there were colorful flowers. When Mei Gan saw this valley, his eyes lit up and he was a little happy. "I didn't expect to find it now. I thought I would have to look for some time." Looking at the valley below, Mei Gan nodded with satisfaction. After thinking about it, Mei Gan fell down. When they came to the lake and looked at the flowers surrounding everyone, everyone's mood improved a lot. Beautiful things can always make people feel better. This place is better than the place just now. Banner looked at the environment here and said to Lucifer, who came to his side, "It's really good. Living here for a while will make people very relaxed. I want to live here for a while." Lucifer smiled and replied, "Not far away." Mei Gan was looking at the ground here. From the well-growing flowers and plants, it was clear that the land here was very fertile. At this time, several insects that looked like bees flew past Mei Gan. A flower that was closing next to it suddenly opened quickly and then swallowed the insect flying next to it. Beside Mei Gan, Little Sissy, Nora and Ian were watching in amazement. Then he stepped back a few steps in fear. "Wow, is this the man-eating plant mentioned in the book? It looks so cool." Ian found a stick on the ground, poked the blue flower with the stick and shouted, Ian, don't move around casually, Uncle Long shouted loudly. This naughty child once made Uncle Long very upset. It's not easy to beat him. After all, he is not his own child. At most, he can say a few words. Chapter 270. Even plants are not spared. Inside the planet, Mei Gan used his mental power to check the valley for a while and found that the valley was full of these carnivorous plants. Therefore, these insects did not overrun the planet because of the existence of these carnivorous plants. It may also be because they do not live long. Mei Gan thought randomly in his mind. However, these carnivores are too small, so they do not pose any threat to humans like them. Therefore, Mei Gan ignored these plants. He turned around and continued to look for a place to plant the tree of life. The tree of life can be planted in many places in the valley. Mei Gan just needs to choose a more suitable place. Not long after, Mei Gan chose a good place, which is far away from the big lake. On a slope, there is a very bright carnivorous plant growing on the slope. Mei Gan will pull out the carnivorous plant and put it in the island of the tree of life. Seeing that the carnivorous plant grows so well, the land in that place is probably very fertile. Because there was only one plant on that small mound, and no other flowers and plants grew next to it. Moreover, that plant looked better and taller than other carnivorous plants. After thinking about it, Mei Gan walked towards the small mound. Mei Gan's movement attracted everyone's attention, and they wanted to see what the next race created by Mei Gan would look like. Everyone walked a few steps towards Mei Gan, so that they could see more carefully. After all, this kind of deeds of creating a race would not be seen in the future. Even Lucifer, who was created, walked forward with full interest. When Mei Gan approached the carnivorous plant, the plant may have felt the threat of death. The blooming bright flowers began to tremble, and the open flowers kept opening and closing. Its branches were just like the body of a snake, swinging constantly, as if to demonstrate, to make Mei Gan retreat. Mei Gan ignored the plant in front of him. Mei Gan waved his left hand casually, and then the plant was directly pulled out of the soil by the magic power. Although the plant struggled desperately, it was useless. Mei Gan gently clenched his left hand, and the plant turned into dust in the eyes of everyone, and then scattered to the ground. The Archmage is really powerful. He didn't even let the plants go, Tony joked behind Mei Gan. Mei Gan rolled his eyes helplessly when he heard it. This guy would say something very speechless from time to time. What do you mean by not letting even plants go? This sentence is easy to associate with, right? Can't you say a few more words? Without paying any more attention to Tony, Mei Gan's left hand flashed with light, and a seed appeared in his palm. The seed was not big and was green. Since Mei Gan took out the seed, a fresh fragrance floated in the valley, and those carnivorous plants immediately shook their branches crazily. Countless rustling sounds suddenly rang out in the valley, which was the sound of countless leaves shaking. Not only the carnivorous plants, but also other plants began to shake their trunks. The temptation of the seed in Mei Gan's hand was too great for them, so they instinctively wanted to absorb the seed in Mei Gan's hand. Mei Gan ignored the plants that were shaking wildly. He slowly let go of the seed in his hand and let it fall to the ground. The seed fell on the soil on the ground, and then slowly seeped into the ground. It disappeared directly in front of everyone. Then, Mei Gan led everyone to retreat more than 10 meters, and began to use his magic power to nurture the tree of life. The magic power in Mei Gan's body began to surge, and then seeped into the ground, and went towards the seed. After a while, the soil on the small earth slope suddenly began to move. Under the eyes of everyone, the sapling sprang out of the ground, and the tree of life grew very fast. It soon grew to more than 1 meter, and it continued to grow. There was no sign of stopping. The tree of life grew wildly. 2 meters, 5 meters, 10 meters, 20 meters. Finally, it stopped growing when it reached more than 50 meters. It was not that it could not continue to grow, but Mei Gan did not continue to input magic power into the tree of life. In Mei Gan's opinion, more than 50 meters was enough. The appearance of the tree of rice really made everyone stare. It was not like other trees, with a trunk growing straight up to the sky, or branching out into several branches. This tree of life was like an old man. Green leaves were growing behind his head, like a head of green hair. In front of him was a human face transformed from a tree trunk, which also had eyes, nose and mouth. On it, there were red runes looming on the trunk. But the eyes were closed now, and there were green leaves hanging under the mouth, like an old man's beard. Two thick trunks stretched out from the main trunk of the tree, like two thick arms. At this moment, the tree of life suddenly trembled. The two thick arms began to wave unconsciously, and the eyes on the trunk slowly opened. The tree of life opened its eyes, and began to look around curiously. When it saw Mei Gan, its green eyes showed dependence and joy. God of creation, respected God of creation, thank you for giving me life, the tree of life called out respectfully. Its voice was like the voice of an old man. Mei Gan smiled slightly, not entangled in the name of the tree of life, and just said, growing a few elves, it's time for your tribe to appear in this world. Follow your instructions, respected God of creation. As soon as the tree of life finished speaking, it began to glow green, and then gathered towards the dense leaves. After a few breaths, small fruits began to appear. Groot, is this one of your people? Can he talk? Star-Lord poked Groot on Rocket Raccoon's shoulder with his finger and said. Even everyone looked at Groot curiously. Did Mei see that little sissy liked Groot very much, so she directly created a tree man race? This is really spoiled. I really want to be Mei's child. I wonder if Mei will recognize him as a godchild. Several people had such thoughts in their minds. If Mei Gan knew, he would probably destroy them directly. They are all older than him, but they still want to be his children. Fortunately, Mei Gan didn't know. I'm Groot. Groot looked at the tree of life in front of him, and his expression was very excited, as if he had seen a relative he hadn't seen for a long time. The tree of life also noticed Groot, the tree man, but now it was nurturing elves, and had no time to pay attention to Groot. It had to wait until later. The green light was still gathering, and 5 emerald green fruits could be vaguely seen growing between his leaves. They would grow a little bigger in a few tens of seconds. The emerald green fruit looked very beautiful, like a crystal clear jade. After a while, the fruit grew to the size of a basketball, and a blue-green light appeared, and the floating light outside the body of the tree of life had also dissipated. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 271 Elf. In the valley, the blue fruit suddenly fell to the ground. The fruit did not fall to the ground, but floated in the air. In the air, the floating fruit suddenly made a crackling sound. The skin of the fruit shattered like glass. Then it turned into energy and dissipated in the air. Only 5 light balls shining with blue light were left. In the light balls, a vague human face could be seen faintly. It was like the sound of a baby coming from the 5 elves, and then the elves were seen floating around the tree of life. Mei, this is the race you created. Why is it not in human form this time? Do you want it to be like this? Tony stared at the elves floating in the air with wide eyes. It was a bit uncomfortable. I thought Mei would create a race with beautiful bodies this time. Who knew that it was directly without human form? Does Mei have a problem with aesthetics? The extremely ugly orc just now, and the light ball floating in the air now. It seems that I have to bring some magazines to Mei frequently, otherwise he won't know what a beauty is, especially the cover of Time magazine and the Playboy series. Tony thought so. Mei, I'm going to say something to you this time too. I was thinking that, when you create a race, I can bring my little brother here to see if I can pick a girlfriend. It's not good to always be a otaku. This is what Wanda asked me to do. Mei Gan hadn't spoken yet, and Johnny on the side also started to speak out. As for who his little brother is, who else can the otaku be except Pietro, who is as fat as a ball? Watch it, don't talk. Mei Gan glared at the two of them, and then started to let the elves build the war ancient tree and the elder altar and the system panel. For the other 3, let 2 go to mine and build trees, and 1 to build the moon well. Although Mei Gan doesn't need resources to produce units, the armor and weapons they carry do need ore and trees. Fortunately, the first batch of units produced do not need these resources. This should be done by the system, giving away a batch of warriors for free. Seeing that the elves have already started their work, At the place where the ancient war tree grew, the elf floated to the place designated by Mei Gan, and then rushed directly into the ground. A piece of grass suddenly grew on the flat ground, and then in the center of the grass, a seedling slowly grew out from the ground. Then it grew rapidly, and rushed towards the sky. Beside Mei Gan was about to walk towards the ancient tree of life, and his clothes were suddenly pulled. Mei Gan turned his head, and saw that little Sissy was holding the corner of Mei Gan's clothes. And those big eyes were looking at the elves surrounding a tree not far away, and their eyes were full of love. "Dad, can you give me one as a partner? I want one of those, they are so cute." Little Sissy turned her head, and looked at Mei Gan expectantly and said, "As a daughter slave, how could Mei Gan refuse?" He took the little guy's hand, and walked towards the tree of life. As he walked, he said to the ancient tree of life, "Give birth to some more elves, Nordrassil." Nordrassil is the name of this tree of life, and this is also the system's own name. The name of the tree of life is not introduced in Warcraft, but Mei Gan has seen it in World of Warcraft. He did not entangle why the 3 trees of life in World of Warcraft were given this name. However, it should be, because Nordrassil is the first tree of life in World of Warcraft. The tree of life Nordrassil shook his huge body, and replied to Mei Gan, "Your will, respected god of creation." After that, Nordrassil continued to create elves. Mei Gan looked down at the little guy and said, "You will have an elf friend later. Remember not to hurt it, understand?" "Of course, Dad, I will protect the elf well. I'm very strong." The little guy nodded his head, and raised his hand and said. Mei Gan smiled with relief when he heard that, and then touched her little head. On the side, a ray of light emerged, attracting everyone's attention. Mei Gan and Zyosuke turned their heads to look. Not far away, a building had been built. It was a moon well more than 1 meter wide. There were still some green grass growing on the edge of the moon well, and there were decorations carved with wood and stone on the edge of the side. If you look from a distance, it looks a bit like a tomb. However, there is no gloomy atmosphere, but it is full of natural flavor. After all, this is a moon well that can restore life. Starlight shines above the moon well. Everyone walked forward curiously to watch. Even Mei Gan was no exception. After all, it was his first time to see a moon well. When Mei Gan and others walked in, the elf who had just floated out of the moon well immediately floated to Mei Gan's side happily, and then rubbed against Mei Gan intimately. Looking at the drops of water emerging in the well, everyone was a little curious. This moon well looks very shallow, unlike other wells that are bottomless. Moreover, the water at the bottom of the well was gathering drop by drop. "Mei, what is the use of this well water? Why is the well so shallow?" Steve asked while touching the edge with some doubt. "This is a good thing." Mei Gan smiled mysteriously and responded, "Hey, buddy, don't be mysterious all the time." Tony was unhappy and patted Mei Gan on the back and said, "Since you want to know the effect, let me show you." Mei Gan was patted on the back by Tony unexpectedly, and looked at him with some displeasure. Then he grabbed his hand directly, the magic power in his hand surged, and he rolled up his sleeves directly, and then cut a cut on his arm. Ouch! The severe pain came, and he immediately jumped up with a cry. Then he shouted dissatisfiedly, "Mei, what are you doing?" After that, he took out the recovery scroll from his arms to heal the wound. "Wait, don't you want to know the effect of this well water?" Mei Gan grabbed his hand, and then led his right hand towards the moon well water. A stream of well water floated out of the moon well, and fell on Tony's arm. Suddenly, a cold feeling came from his arm, and then the wound on his hand disappeared without any trace of injury. The sweat hair on his hand was still as long. When everyone saw the wound on Tony's hand disappear, they were all amazed. Star-Lord and others were even more surprised. If Mei Gan and others hadn't been watching, they would have probably picked up the bottle to fill it. Especially Rocket Raccoon. His eyes were straight when he saw the well water. "How is it? The effect is good. In the future, you only need to fill a little, and you don't have to carry something as big as a recovery scroll all the time," Mei Gan said to Tony with a smile. "Then you don't have to scratch my arm. Just tell us directly." Although the wound on his hand healed, the pain just now was real. "Isn't it because I'm afraid you can't feel how good it is? So I'll let you experience it yourself." Mei Gan still smiled. "You are just taking revenge." Tony glared at Mei Gan in displeasure. Seeing this, Steve and others beside him laughed out loud. They were very happy to see Tony get humiliated. Chapter 272 Untitled. In the valley. A green light suddenly rose, illuminating the valley. Everyone's eyes left the moon well. They quickly turned their heads to look at the place where the light appeared. The light dissipated, and a huge tree with a human face rose from the ground again. The moment Mei Gan saw the ancient war tree appear, his eyes lit up, and those female elves wearing revealing clothes flashed through his mind, and he was excited just thinking about it. Although he couldn't do it, he could still satisfy his eyes. After all, the women of the elves are all beautiful. Thinking of this, Mei Gan walked towards the ancient war tree, and then began to produce archers impatiently. Mei Gan's hand trembled, and directly filled up the production position. Then Mei Gan led everyone to wait silently for the appearance of the archer. Mei, what are you doing? Everyone was taken not far away by Mei Gan, and the anxious Tony asked with some confusion. You will know later, but I hope you won't let Potts down later, Mei Gan replied mysteriously. Why should I feel sorry for Potts? Mei, don't compare me now with my past self. I'm already a good family man, Tony replied proudly. He abandoned many beauties to marry Potts, and he was very proud of this. I hope you can remember this sentence later. Mei Gan glanced at him and waited silently. During this time, the Tree of Life has produced several elves, and the little guys are playing with the elves happily. The laughter echoed in this valley. Even the silly destroyer was attracted by S.H.I.E.L.D and others, and looked at S.H.I.E.L.D and the little guys with gentle eyes. Maybe he thought of his dead family. Uncle Long might be a little tired of standing, so he sat directly on a piece of grass. When everyone saw Uncle Long's actions, they immediately began to learn. Suddenly, on the grass, everyone was lying or sitting together, looking at this expression, as if they were out for a picnic, relaxed and free. In fact, it was no different from a picnic. Half a while later, suddenly, an illusory figure appeared in front of the ancient war tree. It was vaguely seen that the figure was a woman. After more than 10 seconds, the illusory figure became real. The figure closed her eyes tightly, and a purple armor was put on the hidden part of her body. Her long green hair fell down, and her long ears were exposed from her hair. A crescent mark in the center of her forehead shone with white light. The exposed skin was white and translucent, and her facial features were delicate and handsome, but also revealed a heroic spirit. The elf held a long bow in his hand and a pot of arrows on his back. The figure was looming. After a few breaths, the elf opened his eyes, and his green pupils looked around, and a curious look flashed across his face. The moment Tony and other men saw the elf appear, they were already stunned in place, staring with wide eyes, looking at the elf archer unscrupulously. Such a look made the elf archer very uncomfortable. He frowned with some dissatisfaction, turned his head, and looked at Tony and others who were looking at him, his eyes showing disgust. But Tony and his gang of old perverts have long been immune to such looks, especially Tony, who was once a playboy. However, when the elf saw Mei Gan, a smile immediately bloomed on his face, and then he ran to Mei Gan in surprise, and said a little stiffly, God of creation, Lillian greets you while speaking. He also bowed to Mei Gan. Lillian, you go and do your business first. Don't worry about us, Mei Gan said, after nodding to Lillian. Yes, God of creation. Lillian heard the words, and turned away excitedly, walking towards a big tree at the entrance of the valley. Lillian was very excited. She didn't expect that she could see the God of creation as soon as she was born. She also exchanged a few words with the God of creation. When those sisters come out in the future, she will have something to show off. Just thinking about it makes her excited. Looking at the big tree with lush leaves, Lillian jumped up and disappeared among the leaves. Tony and others looked at Lillian, who disappeared among the leaves reluctantly, and withdrew their gazes with some regret. Mei, I think this girl is very good looking, and can be my brother's girlfriend, but I think I can do it too, Johnny said to Mei Gan, stroking his chin. They have their own consciousness, so those of you who have girlfriends should not have any ideas about them. If it's Pietro, it's okay, but he's not here, Mei Gan said, after glaring at a few LSPs. Oh, regret it. Why didn't you create this race earlier? If you had known, you wouldn't have married Potts so early. Tony looked up at the sky with some loneliness and said funny. I heard it, Godfather. I will tell Godmother Potts. At this time, little Sissy, who was playing with the elves, suddenly turned around and looked at Tony. No, my dear little Sissy, you must not tell her, otherwise your godfather will be miserable. Tony's face fell immediately after hearing this, and then he hurriedly shouted to little Sissy, "It's okay if I don't tell you. You buy me delicious food, and don't let my mommy know." Little Sissy bit her finger, as if she thought of something delicious. Must buy. Our little Sissy wants to buy whatever she wants to eat. Otherwise the godfather will open the door for you, and you can just swipe the card if you want to buy anything. Tony directly used the money offensive. Don't use the card, it will be taken away by mommy. The little guy is smart. She is so young, she can't hide her bank card anywhere to buy food, so she can just tell Tony what she wants to eat in the future. If she is found out, she can say that Tony gave it to her and leave her far away. Mei Gan watched from the side and did not interrupt to stop it. At this time, another night elf archer was born. The dress was similar to Lillian's, and the facial features were more delicate, but the hair of the elf that appeared this time was no longer green, but red. After all, it was a real flesh and blood body. How could it be a template? If so, it would be a bit weird. Mei Gan and others stayed here for a long time, and during this period, elf archers and huntresses appeared one after another. When the huntress appeared, everyone envied the Black Panther under her, especially Steve. Johnny had his motorcycle, Tony had a battle armor, Banner didn't need it, and even Natasha had a red dragonfly, so he was actually quite envious of the mount. Steve's eyes directly annoyed the Black Panther. There were two loud roars at him. Steve was a little embarrassed, wondering if he just looked a bit like Tony and others when they looked at Lillian. Then he scratched his head and apologized to the huntress solemnly. Fortunately, Mei Gan was there, otherwise these guys might have been driven out of here by the night elves. During this period, the altar of the elders of the elves had also been built. Mei Gan did not hesitate at all and decisively chose Sister White Tiger. He was not greedy for Tyrann's beauty, but was just curious about Tyrann's mount, the White Tiger, and also because Tyrann had a meteor shower. Chapter 273 Thrall. In the Doom universe, Thanos sat on the throne, propping up his huge chin with his right hand. His eyes were looking straight ahead. Behind Thanos, hundreds of spaceships were soaring. Below Thanos, Audrey Moore knelt on one knee and said to Thanos, "Father, the army has been assembled. Are we going to attack the Earth now?" When Audrey Moore mentioned the Earth, he was full of hatred. That was where he fell for the first time. He must destroy all the life on Earth and wash away the shame he suffered on Earth with blood. Now behind him stood Thanos and his thousands of subordinates, and the warriors of Chirita. "Then, let's go now." Thanos' voice was flat, but full of murderous intent. He couldn't wait to see the Earth wizard who took away death, and then twist his head off. No. His head can't be twisted off. If he dies, won't he see death? He should be sealed in a corner of the universe and never appear again. After receiving Thanos' order, Audrey Moore stood up and waved his hand at the space battleships in the sky. Hundreds of space battleships started to move directly and then jumped directly into space and rushed to the Earth. People on the Earth are still busy with their lives, and they will never think that a catastrophe will befall the Earth. And Mei Gan, who can calm down this catastrophe, is still busy with his planet transformation. The planet is still in the universe, waiting for enough manpower and catching animals. During this period, Mei Gan sent Uncle Long, a few little guys, and Banner back to the Earth. The little guys still have to go to school, but Banner and others have families and must go back. Otherwise the women will have opinions if they disappear for too long. In the end, only Steve, Lucifer, Star-Lord and others were left on the planet. Steve went back to open a store alone. After all, Linda had to go to the cafe very late every day. And Lucifer, not to mention, he was alone in Marvel, and it was the same everywhere. As for why Star-Lord and others did not leave, but they wanted to rest for a while, and the Blue Yondu followed his men and left, and made an appointment with Star-Lord and others to come and pick them up in a few months. So they stayed on the planet. Mei Gan also acquiesced to them. After a few days of waiting, in the base of the Orcs, a red light shot up into the sky, stayed in the air for a long time, and dissipated after a long time. When Mei Gan saw this scene, he immediately knew that it was the birth of Thrall. But Steve and others looked at the dissipated light curiously. I don't know what it is that can emit such a big noise, but looking at that direction, it should be that the orcs have built some powerful buildings. Mei Gan smiled and said to Steve and others, "Do you want to meet the orc leader who has just been born? Is this the strongest person of the orcs born? Then let's go and see it together." Steve and others were full of curiosity, so they must meet him. Seeing that everyone was curious, Mei Gan led everyone to the orc base. In the blink of an eye, everyone has arrived at the orc base. I saw that several newly built buildings had been erected on the orc base. On the bank of the river, there stood an orc in armor, holding a short-handled warhammer in his hand. Beside him, there lay a huge white-haired frost wolf, which was his mount, Snow Song. Thrall stood on the bank of the river, with a pair of determined and wise pupils, looking at the surrounding environment, and occasionally asking questions to an orc infantryman behind him. That orc infantryman was the first gathering to be produced. Mei Gan looked at the war mill, soul hut, and many extra caves that had been erected. Several watchtowers were also erected outside the base. This was the result of Mei Gan's remote control. Perhaps he noticed the movement in the base. Thrall turned his head and looked inside, and saw Mei Gan's figure at a glance. Thrall hurriedly walked towards Mei Gan. "Great god of creation, Thrall, chief of the orc tribe, greets you." Thrall knelt on one knee in front of Mei Gan, and said to Mei Gan in a very loud voice, "Get up. Thrall, you don't have to be so polite next time you see me." Mei Gan raised his hand slightly and said, "God of creation, your mind is like this sky, so broad." On the side, Steve was already stunned. This so-called chief was even better at flattering than his infantry subordinate. He flattered Mei so much with just a few words. What a master. Gathering behind Thrall was very happy. It seemed that his chief heard his introduction to the god of creation. These few words were much better than what he said. No wonder he was his chief, and he could only be an infantryman. Mei Gan was very comfortable with being flattered, and planned to let Thrall say more in the future. No wonder those previous incompetent emperors liked treacherous ministers so much. It seems that he is very good at flattering. God of creation, is there an oracle for our tribe? Thrall finally finished the nice words in his mouth. It's not about oracle, it's about your survival. You've been eating fruits to fill your stomach these days, so tomorrow you have to gather people and go to another planet to capture animals, which will be your food in the future. Mei Gan likes the word oracle very much, but it's not easy to admit it in front of Steve and others. Just feel happy in his heart. I was just thinking about our survival in the future. Our tribe can't always eat those fruits and vegetables. They won't be able to stand it. I didn't expect that the god of creation has already considered it for us. Praise you. Thrall bowed and said solemnly, "No need. After all, you are created by me. How could I not know your habits?" Mei Gan waved his hand and then looked around for the Beastman's store, but he didn't see it after searching for a long time, and there was no Beastman's store on the system panel. Come to think of it, if there is still a store, why do we need a lottery system? Isn't it better to buy it directly with money? What are you looking for? Thrall asked with some doubt. No, I'm just looking around casually. Go and do your thing. I'll leave soon. I'll come back tomorrow and take you to another planet. Mei Gan replied casually, yes. After hearing this, Thrall began to deal with the tribe's problems. After all, the tribe had just been established, and there were still many things to deal with, and they had to catch animals tomorrow. This was something God had ordered, and must be taken seriously. Mei Gan and others stayed here for a while and then left. After all, there were green orcs with bulging muscles here, which did not suit their aesthetics. It would be better to go to the elves. At least it was pleasing to the eye, and made them feel good. I don't know if I can eat if I keep looking here. The smell of the orcs was not very pleasant, because they lived in caves. Chapter 274 Tyrant. Inside the planet. In the valley, where the night elves live. A green light shot up into the sky and lasted for a long time. Mei Gan walked out of a treehouse and looked at the green light in the sky. He felt a little happy. It seemed that Tyrant had come. Mei Gan hurriedly walked towards the elder's altar. Next to him, Perhaps hearing the noise, Steve and others also walked out of the treehouse and followed Mei Gan. Mei Gan's treehouse was built on a big tree not far away. On the small tree next to it was the residence of Steve and others, and his treehouse was the largest and most luxurious among them. This was built for Mei Gan by the female elves and the elves. Steve and others was built casually by the elves. This made Steve and others very envious. The decoration inside the house was also very delicate and comfortable to live in. It must be said that living in a treehouse is sometimes a kind of enjoyment. And from time to time, there are female elves who send fruits and drinking water. Do they want to come over and give themselves a massage or something? It's the life of a god. But it seems that they just call themselves gods. I was right. Mei Gan thought about the past few days while walking towards the elder's altar. Next to the altar, a female elf in purple tight armor was sitting on a white tiger, holding a bow and arrow in her hand. Tyrande whisper whined. Before the time travel, the game players called her Grandma Tyrande. This was a female elf who had lived for who knows how many tens of thousands of years, and her age was measured in tens of thousands. It was estimated that only death could compete with her. Tyrande opened her left hand, and a little elf was floating in her palm. She just looked at the little elf quietly, with a gentle smile on her lips. As the crowd approached, they all felt the natural breath coming from Tyrande, like a spring breeze, which made people feel refreshed. Noticing the approach of the crowd, Tyrande turned her head and looked at them. Her eyes were always as calm as water. Even when she saw Mei Gan, the master who created them, or should I say summoned them, her eyes did not fluctuate at all. And the identity of the god of creation was just the information given to them by the system. Respected god of creation, Tyrande whisper whined sends you greetings. When everyone approached, Tyrande calmly got off the white tiger and bowed slightly to Mei Gan. Nice to meet you, Ms. Tyrande. She almost called her grandma, but fortunately Mei Gan's words changed quickly, otherwise it would be embarrassing. You know, they don't have any memories of Azeroth in their minds now. They only have the knowledge and power given by the system. If they directly call her grandma, they will be killed. God of creation, just call me Tyrande. After all, we are all created by you. Tyrande said softly with a smile on her lips. Although she was smiling, she looked at the guns in the hands of Rocket Raccoon and others, and there was still a flash of worry in her eyes. Her voice was very pleasant, like a stream of mountain spring in summer, trickling. You are all independent. Even if I created you, you belong to yourself, not to me. Don't worry, I won't call you to start a war of aggression. Mei Gan responded with a smile, perhaps seeing the worries in Tyrande's heart. As for how true this sentence is, I don't know. However, Mei Gan's words made Tyrande feel relieved. They, the Night Elves, are a peace-loving race. Even if they have powerful power, they only want to reproduce and thrive in this valley. If the god of creation who created them wants them to start a war of aggression, they will still agree, but there will definitely be resistance in their hearts. But, if there are invaders, you will have to help, Mei Gan said again. Of course, if there are invaders, even if you don't call us, we will go. Tyrande still knows the importance of the matter. That's good, you should get familiar with your people first. Remember to call people. There are no animals in this world. Tomorrow you will go to another planet with the orcs to catch some animals and bring them back to make your home more lively, Mei Gan said at last. Follow your instructions. Respected god of creation Tyrande bowed slightly again and said to Mei Gan. Mei Gan nodded, then turned around and left with the people who were still in a daze. Tyrande's work was not disturbed. As for S.H.I.E.L.D and other LSPs with dazed faces, they were forcibly dragged away by Mei Gan, Gamora, Mantis and others. And Star-Lord's waist is probably purple. Even Lucifer, who is used to seeing beautiful women, was fascinated by Tyrande, the female elf. You can see that he looks back from time to time. Sure enough, whether it is mortals or these powerful gods and demons, they are all LSPs in the final analysis, especially these western gods and demons, who don't know how chaotic they are. Mei, don't pull me first, I feel like I'm in love. You should have introduced me just now. Lucifer's tone this time is very similar to Tony. You are in love, you are just greedy for someone's body. Mei Gan looked at Lucifer with contempt. However, he still feels that such Lucifer is so cute. His gentleman looks very odd. Chicken and Red Dragon come to the call for help. Otherwise, the flying animals are too slow to grab them. After speaking, Steve was not in Lixie far, and Steve walked towards his residence. The next day, outside the Earth, a huge spacecraft suddenly appeared, and then a spacecraft jumped to this area. Thanos stood in front of the spaceship, looking down at the blue planet in the distance. It's almost time. As long as he gets the remaining few gems, he will be able to see her again. She should be very happy. He has harvested so many souls. Thanos rarely had a trace of tenderness in his eyes. Thanos never thought that this operation would fail. There is no word failure in his dictionary. Father, are we going to descend directly now? At this time, Audrey Moore came forward and asked, do we still need to arrange a battle plan? Thanos said after glancing at Audrey Moore. Hundreds of warships, countless men, and gems in hand. Can't we push this small backward planet? It seems that Audrey Moore was scared last time. How can I, Thanos' son, be so timid? Audrey Moore was stunned when he heard the words, and then he understood what Thanos said. He said hello, and turned away to inform the management of other spaceships. Chapter 275 Thanos arrives. Outside the Earth. Hundreds of spaceships have begun to approach the Earth's atmosphere. The governments of various countries on Earth have already known about the arrival of those spaceships, and the Earth is already in a panic. The summits of various countries have been held for an unknown period of time, but they still haven't come up with a charter. And scientists from various countries have calculated that the spaceship will land in the Big Apple city of America. So many countries are still hesitating, not knowing when to support. After all, this is a good opportunity to weaken America. Don't doubt it, even at this critical moment of life and death, there will still be some heads of state who will make such a decision. For example, the sun never sets, the romantic country, and the Japanese country, which has been bullied by America, and even the universe country have such thoughts. Trident. S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters. Nick Fury is standing in the spacious conference room on the top floor of Trident with a serious face, waiting for the news from the council. Sir, there is no news from the council yet, and the summit meeting is still in progress. Hill walked into the conference room with a tablet in his hand. By the time their meeting is over, our Earth will have disappeared. Nick knows the style of some heads of state very well. So should we continue to wait or? Hill asked with a somewhat ugly face. Let's call Tony and the others. They must help this time. And the Wakanda country in Africa. Let Coulson inform them that I'm going to meet Mei, and now he must take action. Nick said in a deep voice. Then he turned around and walked directly outside. He didn't want to wait for the news from the council. At the same time, Nick put his hand into his pocket without hesitation and pressed a machine that looked like a pager. It was time to summon the woman back. On the planet where Mei Gan was. Mei Gan didn't know about the Earth. Now he was walking out of the treehouse with the little chicken and the red baby. The two beasts were summoned by Mei Gan last night. When he walked out of the treehouse, he saw that Steve and others had gotten up and were eating breakfast. The breakfast was some fruits on this planet. Without animals, there was not much time to find ingredients that could be cooked, so they could only eat fruits first. And these fruits were picked by the elves. Everyone was sitting on some vines not far away, except Lucifer. That guy had started to bombard Tyrant with sweet things early in the morning. However, in Tyrant's opinion, this guy was very annoying to her, and Lucifer was a friend of the god of creation. She couldn't drive him away, so she could only deal with this guy with a fake smile on her face. Leolu, don't bother Tyrant, can't you see that she is busy? Mei Gan walked over and grabbed Lucifer, then smiled at Tyrant, and directly took Lucifer away. Mei Gan's face was very dissatisfied. This former king of hell had made him lose face. Doesn't he know that he is their god of creation? This guy has grasped Mei Gan's character in the past few days, and knows that he will not act casually, so he is no longer afraid of Mei Gan. Mei, don't delay me, I still have something to say to Lady Tyrant. Lucifer turned around and smiled at Tyrant, and then said to Mei Gan, if you say that again, I will seal your power and give you to the single women of the orcs. Mei Gan glared at Lucifer fiercely and threatened. Lucifer quickly shut his mouth when he heard that. The arms of those orc women were several times thicker than his thighs. If Mei were to throw him somewhere, it would be more painful than death. Shut up, you are almost embarrassing me. Okay, Mei, but you can't stop me from pursuing love. Lucifer followed Mei Gan obediently. Bullshit love, you are just coveting my body. Mei Gan rolled his eyes at Lucifer and said. Lucifer was not annoyed, he shrugged and followed Mei Gan. An hour later, Mei Gan and others finished their breakfast and rested for a while. Tyrande rode her white tiger with hundreds of elven archers and dozens of female hunters riding black panthers. Behind them were a dozen raptor druids and claw druids. Next to the druids, there were several tree elves holding spears. Behind the tree elves, 2 huge mountain giants were standing there. In the air, a dozen elven archers riding horned eagles held the reins tightly, and there were several elven dragons shining with light beside them. The elven dragons had butterfly-like wings, and the wings were shining with light, and they circled and flew in the air from time to time. Because the Chimera's habitat had just been built, and the 2-headed dragon Chimera was still incubating, there were no traces of them. It was the first time that Steve and others saw these new soldiers, and their eyes widened immediately. In just a few days, so many warriors appeared in the elves, and they still looked so powerful. Looking at the huge stone man behind, Steve looked at his fist again, wondering if he could fight for a day. And why had he never seen the appearance of these powerful warriors? Because the Tree of Wisdom and the ancient Tree of Wind were planted behind the Tree of Life. They were blocked by the Tree of Life and could not be seen. In addition, there were many trees that were originally there. Respected Lord of Creation, our people have gathered. Tyrande sat on the white tiger, and the white tiger helped her walk to a place not far from Mei Gan, and said to him, okay, let's go and meet the orcs first. Mei Gan's hand flashed with light, and a blue staff appeared in his hand. Then, blue light emerged, and a huge magic circle appeared under the feet of everyone. The light flashed, and everyone disappeared from the spot, leaving only those elves shining with blue light and several elf archers defending the base. Beside the river, at the orc tribe, a blue magic circle emerged. Thrall and others who noticed it immediately became alert, and drums sounded over the tribe. Dang dang. On the back of the huge Kodo beast, an orc was beating a war drum. Not far from the tribe, several huge figures suddenly soared into the sky. Those were wyverns and troll bat warriors. As soon as the flying units of the orcs rose into the air, the figures of Mei Gan and others appeared in front of Thrall and others. Seeing Mei Gan, Thrall quickly reached out to stop the warriors who were about to rush forward. Respected God of Creation, our orc warriors are ready. The moment he saw Mei Gan, Thrall quickly stepped forward and knelt on one knee on the ground and said respectfully, okay, let's meet. This is the current leader of the elves, Tyrande Wind Whisper. Tyrande, this is the chief of the orcs, Thrall. You are all races created by me, and I hope you can live in peace in the future. Mei Gan introduced the 2 people and said. Mei Gan's tone was already serious. I will obey your oracle, respected God of Creation. Next to the 2 said in unison, and then nodded to each other, just as if they had said hello. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.